Custer County Board of County Commissioners meeting will come to order. Let the record show today is January 31st, 2020. The time is 9 o'clock a.m. Miss Guinevere, would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Is that payback?
Yes. You walk in late.
Yep.
It's okay.
Fair enough. I will say the
If you would all silence your cell phones, please. Would appreciate that.
Guilt and sin.
And Madam Clerk to the Board, would you conduct the roll call, please?
Commissioner Flower.
Present.
Commissioner Kanda.
Here.
Commissioner Prince.
Here.
Attorney Clint Smith.
Present.
And Clerk to the Board, Kelly Camper, present.
I will be sure when I attend the statewide Internet Portal Authority meeting, when they give out the grants, if we're fortunate enough to get one, that our attorney certainly uses his microphone. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Audience introductions, if you don't mind starting, Miss Elliott.
Elliot Jackson, White Mountain Tribune.
Go ahead, sir.
Scott Carlin,
Charles Bogle, Custer County.
Brian Jablonski,
Rachel Sullivan. Guinevere Nelson.
Jackie Peoples for the summer.
Thank you. You're not uncomfortable saying your name, are you, this morning? Welcome, everybody. We appreciate you being here. Thank you. Amendments to the agenda. Commissioner Kanda?
I don't have any.
Commissioner Prince?
No, sir.
And Attorney Smith?
The item, consideration to authorize litigation for violations of the zoning resolution. I put that on Jackie Houghton, and I've been working on something, but we're not ready to do anything on that, so I'd like to remove that.
Okay. Chair, group's pleasure.
I move that we amend the agenda by removing.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to amend the agenda by striking consideration to authorize litigation for violations to the zoning resolution. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Let it be known, we'll strike that. I had initially had on there a possible executive session tied to the litigation item, so obviously I don't think we need to consider that. So, okay, approval of the minutes, January 15th.
I move that.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. We both got the idea at the same time.
Yeah, I read them. They were very good. I move that we approve the minutes for January 15th as presented.
Okay, let's second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the January 15 minutes. Sorry, get caught up here.
You got them out timely, too. I really appreciate that.
Okay. I didn't think they were very timely.
Further
The
discussion?
fact that I got it is good.
Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of approving January 15 minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Commissioner items. Commissioner Prince, would you like to begin, sir?
Sir, thank you. Been a busy couple of weeks. On the 16th, I attended the Upper Arkansas Area Council of Governments, and we made an offer to and accepted to a young lady who will take up the head of that organization for us.
Wow.
Where is she from?
She was with the military, retired. She's in security now. I don't remember her name. I apologize. I should have looked at it when I
Lives in Salida?
Yeah. Actually, it's Canyon City.
Okay.
She'll be moving down. She's very qualified. We have a wonderful candidate. Very difficult decision, as often is the case when you have this level of a employee. So we're very pleased that she's accepted and will be starting in the middle of March. Then I attended on the 21st the CES meeting. On the 23rd, the Attainable Housing. On the 23rd, I went to Roger Squire's retirement party. Very well done, very nicely done, and I appreciate the gift that the county gave to him. He certainly deserved it after all those years. I've been dealing with some tourism issues, and I suggested at one point that the chairperson contact Clint for a question. I gave him my opinion. I said, but I can't give you a legal opinion. You might want to run it by. And she said she would. I don't know if she did or not.
She did.
Well, she might. Anyway, and that's kind of what I've been up to, along with a million other little things going on.
Okay. Mr. Cannon? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Okay, I got quite a few things that happened. I'm going to refer to some of that during the actions that we take on the new business as well.
Okay, can you raise your mic up just a minute?
All right.
For the recording, not necessarily for the room, but for the recording.
Check. Okay, started off after that DOCC meeting, we had a good airport board meeting, and Tom, you were there, and we had a lot of good discussions. Some of which included getting the Hot Six guys involved more actively. So had meetings with the vice chairman on that here recently. Also found out that they had lost the grant from the tourism board that they got. They didn't get it worked in time, apparently. So I think there's some action going on that I want to check into between Debbie Adams and the board to transfer the month. I think it's $500 that they had put in. And one of the reasons that's important is because Brian Anderson, the vice chairman, had actually paid for all the advertising that was done for that, and is still waiting to be reimbursed for that as well. So I'll be working with the airport board on that. Went to the same meetings everybody else did, so I won't dwell on that, the 911, etc. However, I have talked a lot with a lot of people on a lot of issues, one of which is the roads as usual. But part of that was trying to slow people down in the wintertime and on some roads that are pretty heavily traveled. In particular was the Lutheran Camp, which is on the road, County Road off of 911 and right off of, headed west off of that. Talked to Gary about that. And Shannon had said he would enforce the speed line signs, and they had found some that had been knocked over. And so they're redoing that, and Gary was very good at responding to that, so I appreciate what Gary's doing. Yeah.
If you don't mind, just before we get off roads, I had two separate people ask me to pass on to either you or to Gary about Oak Creek Grade, the feeling that Oak Creek Grade has been neglected, and I just wanted to mention to you, I have not been on it, I don't know, I'm just relaying to you some of the information I received from a couple of people.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Frontier Pathways appreciated our letter that we sent. I was at that board meeting in Pueblo, and the Pueblo mayor was there as well. And they had their strategic plan review that they had hired a consultant to work with them. And so we're going to be seeing more of what that action is that affects the county. It's pretty good program they've got going. So I was happy I was able to make that meeting as well. And they appreciate the support from the county. They really like the fact that we would stand behind their applications on grants. They are a government entity too. They have the ability to apply for their own grants as well, but with support from the community, it adds a lot more punch from Custer County. Attended the Rural Voices of Colorado. That's a group that I think it was more beneficial than going to the CCI meeting even. It was really great. They had a great set of speakers. I'll pass the program around to you to see who all was there. All the directors of the agencies that we care about, Tourism Board, the Office of Economic Development, Teresa Ferguson was there, talked to her at length about both our tower program, our fiber program, Amy Munn was there, USDA, Sally Clark's right-hand gal that's working all the issues. It's just a plethora of people, and it was very worth it. And if you think about it, it involves 22 counties in this district that I'm part of the director for. It has Pro 15, which is up north, 15 other counties, which added another 2 that they don't put on there because they got the county or the logo and they're not going to change it. And then Pro 20, the 20. So if you add them up, it's 68 counties. That's the majority of the state, area-wise. And we're a voice that competes with the other 2 or 3 counties, Boulder, Denver, that kind of rule the state. So it's good to be involved in it and get the voices collectively together to help lobby for what we care about. So that was a very good meeting. CenturyLink met at length with Tim Kunkelman, for an hour or so on a couple issues. And I want to make sure everybody, this is a good thing to bring up in this meeting. They have almost completed the work of dragging in their broadband into the county. And in some places, people are going to receive up to 80 megabits. In other places, they'll be able to get 20 or less. In some places, they're not going to be able to get much that they couldn't cover. And he said, if you've got a problem, and I'm getting a lot of complaints, those guys dug up rocks and they messed up my driveway and they did X, Y, and Z. I'm going to let Gary Hyde be the judge because he knows what the conditions of the spar pits and everything was before. They've done a great job of cleaning up and making things even better. I rode the roads for the last few days as well, looking at what they've done. But there's still some things that need to be picked up. And he said that just let them know because they've hired an outfit that's landscaping, cleaning up. And so let's let them earn their money. But we're not going to go and put flowers in somebody's house that didn't have them before, is what he said. So basically. So that's a good thing to know, that they are caring and they do care about it, and they have improved the service. And by the way, they've turned on that service now, and this is just, if they'll put out some flyers, and they'll probably put some ads in the papers, but you can if you've already got a DSL subscription, more than likely with your phone service, it's going to be a little cheaper to get whatever megabytes they're going to give to you for the same price. So it's worth checking into, just to let you all know. Okay, other discussions with the airport. We're going to set up a development committee, and I have to talk to the board about that. I talked to BA about it. We're just going through our initial discussions on that to help focus, because there's a lot of grants out there. I learned also at that rural county meeting that also are available for airports, not just the Colorado DOLA or the aviation grants that through the CDOT. But there's others, so it's going to require them considering how do we get enough people. We can't just be burdening Kara helping all the grant writing that we do in the county, so we'll talk about that later after we figure out from an airport board point of view what we're going to do, what they're going to do, I should say. And then I think the coup de grace was a meeting that I attended last night at the hospital district. And it was a very good meeting. And I'm not going to go in a lot of depth because there's things that need to be worked out. But what they did do was the committee came back for the ambulance service, Janie Candelaria, and reported that from their point of view, they recommended that the district be expanded and include all of Custer County, the ambulance service. And the board voted in favor of that. So they are going to expand the district, and the way they're doing it is there happens to be, and I wasn't aware of it, I don't think any of us were, it's districts are governed by certain laws, for lack of a better word, regulations. And what they can do is petition the district court to expand their boundaries, like a city would expand their city limits. And the people have to decide whether they opt in or out of it, and that allows the authority for taxing to be transferred out to those people as well. So that would mean the 3 mills that they're currently charging for ambulance service in the hospital district would be expanded into the new boundary. And so they're going down that path, and they said that what they have to do, the next step is hire a lawyer. The district court said, go hire a lawyer. It's how you do it. Get them to work it and go through the process. It's not a issue you would put on the ballot to vote on in this case. They also said in that meeting, which was very significant, that they recognize they need to improve and are improving the ambulance services. That's part of the issues, and they heard that loud and clear in all the meetings that we've had publicly. And so they listed the actions that they're actually going through now to do that. And I'm going to ask them to get a copy, and I know it's public record now, but they ran some 597 runs last year and only transported 270 people. Down to Wetmore, there were 8 or 9 is all for the whole year. And so, they recognize that they're going to do that without cost, any extra cost. The way it came across to me, you have to make sure to continue the service for the rest of the year until they get the boundary extended. So we'll see what that means.
Can I make a comment
Sure.
on that? I met with Bob Tobin yesterday. They do have to, that does have to go to an election.
It does go to election, but it's still has to be petitioned, I guess.
Right.
I think they're learning.
The board will come up with a resolution, then they'll go to the court, and the court will approve it. And then the court will order me to do an election.
Good, that's the process.
And they have to do more than the 3 mills because they're taking them into the whole district, and so they have to pay the hospital district all the hospital district mills.
I don't think so. That's not the discussion we had last night. What they talked about. Now I'm not only going to say what the meeting was, and they're going to have to go through the process and see. But they have an ambulance mill levy that is only 3 mills, period.
Right.
And it does not include the services of the hospital, and that's what they're going to go petition for. So
But
let's
there's
let
not
the lawyers
an
in.
ambulance district, it's a hospital
But
district.
there's an ambulance mill levy.
I know.
Well-
But JD can't break that
Right,
out
I was
like
gonna
that.
say, that's 7.098
They're not going to charge them.
mills total.
Right,
And
and
then
those
the-
people aren't going to approve
The
that.
district has chosen to give 3 mills to the ambulance, or
Right.
3.5, but
And even the
There's 2 separate
3.5
mill
would be
It was 2 separate
incorrect
mill levies.
because
Yeah.
they did discuss that. They're actually taking some of their own budget to support the ambulance at 5.5 mils, and they said, well, why don't we put it on this too? And then they said, no, they can't do that. It's the 3 mil period. And then that would have to be discussed later. Just stay tuned. This is just, they've got to go through the process. But my understanding is the ambulance district now, not just the hospital district, but the ambulance service is going to extend it to all of Custer County,
right.
period. And then we'll see how they go through the court actions and whether it actually hits the ballot. I can understand why it would, and then whether it would have mill levy.
Yeah, it's in statute that it has to go on the ballot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've been
Right.
involved in this from the beginning. My question would be, one of the discussions they had, and I don't know if this came up last night, unfortunately I couldn't make the meeting, that they were going to form a separate hospital district, excuse me, I said that wrong, a separate ambulance district outside the hospital district so that they could bifurcate the mill for the ambulance versus the hospital.
That may be
Because
one.
I agree with what Kelly's saying. This is a...
They did come
Yeah,
up with
I read
it.
it.
They
It's
will
an
not
issue.
make it a 7 mil deal, but however they come up with that, they've got to go through that process. I agree with you, Jay.
Okay.
What did come up, and you may have heard also, they recognize that they want to certify all their people up to paramedic if they can get them there. And they've got a program set up where they're going to certify the ALS capabilities for basic on up. And given every person that works there the opportunity to take that training. Now they estimated it would take 8 to 12 months to complete everybody. So everybody ought to be more certified than they are today, whatever that means. And then paramedic would be involved as well. So go ahead.
If I make a comment, I'm very pleased to hear what you're reporting. Our discussions up to this point have been that we felt AMR was going to provide better service, better coverage, with higher quality employees. I'd much rather keep it local if we could. If we could get to the same level that AMR had for us. Now, it may take a little while to get there where AMR could start it tomorrow, assuming we had a contract in place for tomorrow.
Right.
But I think it sounds like it's going in the right direction.
Well, and the other thing they did, too, was recognize that was their obligation. And if they would have handled it better in the first place, you know, it wouldn't have evolved into what we ended up.
Absolutely correct.
And so, and I, the only comment I made afterwards was, now, just because it's going to be that service and you've got a plan in place, I said, we're all citizens together in the same boat that we need services for. And we want the best for everybody in the county. So I recommended that we get together periodically with the hospital district and us and understand what their issues are. And I just used a simple example, like they're having a terrible time getting ambulances into some off-breed place way out in the boonies. Fix the roads for me. That's a simple example of working together. They first took offense because they thought I meant, well, we're going to go tell them how to run their business, you know. But if we see issues with medical services, it is beholding upon each of the citizens, us too, to go and point that out, help them, to help them grow better, if that's the case. And they didn't seem, right now they're going to work through the issues of finances and all that, which brings up the other thing that there's a misconception about, and that's this partnership with Heart of the Rockies. They are not being taken over or merging. They use the term merger too many times publicly, and it's not a merger. They're hiring under and not an IGA per se. It's a government to government agreement, and it's called an SGA or something like that. I forget what they said. Agreement to have them subcontracted to this hospital district for services that we're short on, like a doc full-time, they use this example. So that's what our hospital district taxes are going to be paying for that service in this county, not helping. You can't share taxes across borders. The only part of contention that might evolve is the director that's hired is going to work for both districts. So you have to have the authority when you're subcontracting people from the other district. That director has authority over both the Salida people and the Custer County people in the businesses that go on. So that has to be that chain of command, and the authorities have to be ironed out. And that director reports to both boards. And so they got to figure out if you got a problem with one board's got a problem with how you're doing things, but the other board doesn't. You know, there's political things that are going to have to go on behind the scenes as well. So overall, I was happy to see that there's good motion going on, movement toward a better ambulance service in the county. Jax has a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So does that mean that as far as the hospital district goes, AMR is off the table?
Not necessarily. It still depends. From their point of view, I'll tell you what Bob Tobin said publicly. The paper said I was for AMR. I'm not for AMR. He said that. I'm for emergency medical service being done by this board. Is where his position was. And so that's why I brought up the fact, well, you know, if there's some way of doing something better, that, you know, if we still have a problem and you're having a problem, why wouldn't we get together to help resolve that? And that might mean hiring an outside source at some point, but who knows? Right now, it's upgrading their capabilities with their crews, with their and hiring more people, getting more money, whatever it takes to meet the training requirements that they had proposed. So I see them trying very hard, but from their point of view, they don't want to subcontract any external ambulance service.
Yeah, I think to answer a question, your last statement was probably accurate.
Yeah.
I don't think they have any interest in hiring
That's
AMR.
correct.
You asked if it went off of the hospital district's table.
Right.
It may
does.
have.
Yeah, it does. From their point of view, they did what the commissioners at the time, and our position has always been, they must cover all of Custer County. So they did it.
Okay, anything else, sir?
Not now.
Okay, thank you. A couple questions, if I may. You said you met with Kunkelman where was that meeting at?
on the phone.
Oh, you had a phone conference with him? Okay. And then did the hospital district vote on a start date for this extended coverage?
Now, they're going to start now. So so what does that mean? You know, from my point of view, I took away from the meeting, they're continuing to service Wetmore on a first call basis.
And in deference to them, they have not ceased that since we.
That's right, and they have not
Since they
stopped doing
retracted that.
That's exactly right. And I didn't get there was no formal saying that, well, we want the county to pay for that 6 whatever cents it is, you know, the 3 runs that they might do.
Right. There was a question about that $14,000, and I believe that's off the table
Yeah,
at
it
this
is.
point.
From what I understand, it is.
Okay, I've got some items I want to talk about, and then I'll get to my calendar. First of all, I want to, I asked Guinevere and Rachel to come down this morning because I want to officially introduce the new administrative assistant for Extension Office, Rachel Selden. Welcome. We're glad to have you on board. Been here a couple weeks already, huh?
Yeah, about a month.
A
now.
month, okay.
Yep.
So really appreciate your efforts upstairs. And Miss Guinevere, if you'd like to say anything, you're...
Not even listening to
No, I know.
I was
it.
correct.
That's-
I was making sure her name was spelled correctly on paper.
How do you spell it?
Oh, me or her? It's a quiz.
It's a test. RACHELSELDEN.
Anything you'd like to say, Miss Guinevere?
I just wanted to say how much I appreciate Rachel. She's been really working hard on getting us an online presence on our websites, just really getting after our 4-H online and all that online stuff. And it's really been great and positive attitude and just support us real hard. So
Good.
thanks, Rachel.
Well, you're welcome to come down anytime, and if the need arises, I certainly wouldn't have a problem with Rachel coming down and doing your staff report if you're tied up or out of town or whatever. So, but I just want to welcome you and appreciate you being here. The other thing I want to talk about, I was a little disturbed about an email string that I was included on, and that was from our public health nurse, Alyssa Livengood, had sent a press release to the Wet Mountain Tribune, which is our newspaper of record, by the way, and asked if he would put that in concerning a press release from CDPHE concerning the coronavirus. And the editor refused to do that. Just flat said he was not going to put that press release in. He didn't agree with what was in there. So there was an email exchange between Alyssa and Mr. Hedberg, and finally I think his last response was that he was going to write a story about that and that it would not include that press release. And I find that a little disturbing. I think we have a professional as a public health nurse. Certainly, I don't believe she would have put out any press release that was inaccurate, especially when 90% of that came from Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. And I don't know, I suppose the county could have paid for that and put that in, but I don't think that is really necessary. So I was disappointed. I'm not sure if we're down to the point where we can't get a press release put in the paper about something as important as the coronavirus. Maybe we ought to invite Mr. Hedberg in and have a conversation with him about that or any other issue. But I just wanted to bring that up. Very disappointed. The other thing I want to report is that we do currently have on file 5 applications for the position of a landfill manager. So that time of application expired yesterday. So I think we are in a position now to move forward. I would recommend maybe that we look at those applications individually and then we can pick a date, which I'd like to do today, and move forward. Maybe we can I would guess through a workshop format, get together and decide how many applicants we want to interview. And then I'm trying to think about the timing of that. Maybe we can have a discussion about how many applications we want. Now, we're going to meet again here in a few days, so my recommendation would be between now and the 4th, I would recommend that we review those applications, and then on the 4th, in a meeting, we can make a determination of how many applicants we feel we ought to interview. Then we can set up an interview date then. Does that sound reasonable?
One thing maybe to consider, Tom, is is it 5 total?
Yes.
I wonder if, like we've seen in several cases, some are qualified, some are flat out not. Would it be worthwhile having our landfill chief now take a look and see if there's somebody that didn't qualify?
He's already reviewed those
Has
applications.
he reviewed all of them?
So I think we need to review those and then...
Okay, if he's passed it along, that's all. I didn't know he'd seen all of them.
I'm with Bill in terms of if there are individuals who just really are not qualified, no sense wasting that person's time
Right.
and our time.
Right.
So I would like to look at the 5 applicants and give you my thoughts on whether we ought to interview all of them.
Top 3.
Or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I'm suggesting, that between now and the 4th, that we review those applications individually.
I don't have them. Do we have
No.
them? Okay. No, good.
Donna has all the applications.
Okay.
She's not made copies of those. So
That sounds fine.
if you would schedule a time then between now and February the 4th, I would ask Kara to put that on the agenda to probably select the number of candidates to interview for the landfill manager position. And then we can select that number, and then we can also select a date to start those interviews. The intent was to get that whole process up and running so that we could make an offer and have at least 30 days transition time. I'm hoping maybe to get 45 days, but who knows? We'll see how that goes. And then I just wanted to briefly, it's not much of an update because there's really no hard facts to present, but I did speak with a representative from AT&T about when they're going to fire up this new tower.
The tree?
No, AT&T tower
Oh.
over here.
Oh, this one. Yeah, sorry.
And she indicated to me in an email that it was forthcoming fairly soon, but she couldn't quote a date. They like to fire up 2 or 3 of those towers at once. So they're trying to get the timing put together. I think all the electronics and everything is in place. I talked to 2 of their installers the other day that were actually in the building there at the tower working, and he indicated that they had all of their work done. They were just finishing up some testing, that all that work was done, and they were waiting on AT&T to fire up several towers. So we should be close. I'm going to follow up with her via an email and ask, because I've had some people ask me, is it going to significantly improve the AT&T cell phone service? My assumption is that it will, but certainly the big push there was for FirstNet. That was the driving force behind that.
But they did put a capability to improve the AT&T cell service that everybody's concerned about.
I can't say that. I don't know.
Do you know if they
No, I
included
say
that
I'm
on
assuming that was part of it, but I have
Nice to
not
know.
had that conversation. So I will continue to follow up with that, and then just go through my calendar briefly. Since our last BOCC meeting, I did attend the airport board meeting on the 16th. Also attended the E911 Authority board meeting on the 16th. Went up and had lunch a couple of times on the week of the 21st at the Silver Cliff Senior Citizens Center. They've asked me to extend an invitation to the commissioners. I believe their lunch dates are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, I believe. Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Sorry. Phew, that was random. I knew there were a couple of days
Did
they
you say
don't,
Monday
so
finally?
Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And they would ask that if you're interested, that you would call before 9 o'clock and let them know so they have a meal count. But they really appreciate people from the community coming in. I told them I felt a little guilty about that, and they said, absolutely, we do not want you to feel that way. It actually helps them with their grants and their whole business or budget plan to have increased numbers on their lunch things. So they've got some great cooks up there. They do a good job. And it's not a long, drawn-out process. They ask you to be there about 11:45, and usually by 12:30 they're done and out of there. So
Quarter to what, 12?
Quarter to 12, yeah. So would encourage you to do that, and anyone else that's interested, just to call them ahead of time and let them know you're coming. And then also on the 21st, I attended the CES meeting over at the OEM building. They've got a new format. Meredith's doing a great job. She has developed some work groups, and I thought that was a very good meeting as well. So January 23rd, I attended the Attainable Housing meeting that was held here in the Commissioner's Room. Obviously, the county has purchased some lots in Silver Cliff. It's obvious to us anyway, because we've been involved in it. It may not be to everybody else, but and so the Attainable Housing Board is looking to leverage that land purchase and try to get some forward momentum on some attainable and workforce housing. So then on the 23rd in the afternoon, also attended Roger Squire's retirement party. The county actually, you and I presented him a gift on behalf of, I phrased it as the citizens of the county. County commissioners voted to purchase that gift, so I felt like we did it on behalf of all the citizens. It wasn't necessary.
Yeah, it was a great thing, and I didn't mention it, but I couldn't be there because of the rural voices, but I did call him and talk to him at length several times.
Yeah. And,
Good job that he did.
And then I continue to have a conversation about the water line with Round Mountain Water, County, and Saddle Club. I met with the Saddle Club Board of Directors and had a conversation with them. I did give them a copy of the proposal from Round Mountain about installing an 8-inch water line up there. And so I'm trying to get a date in February scheduled to have a meeting with the county commissioners, Round Mountain, Town of West Cliff, and the Saddle Club. And we'll try to get all those people at the table and have a discussion about moving forward there. So need to keep pushing on that. So that's kind of it for me on the Commissioner's report. Anything else, gentlemen, before we move on? Yes, sir, go
If I
ahead.
may, sir, thank you. I meant to mention this. I just wanted to mention that on the 4th, we have the Reach Air Ambulance Service. They sent us a contract. I forwarded it to both of you and asked Clint to look at it. And I invited, I spoke to Don, and he has 2 folks coming down who will be meeting with us so they can answer questions and get a full understanding of exactly what it is they're offering to us, and then we can decide where we go with that. I just want to let you know I have 2 guests here.
Right, I saw that email. Do you know where they're coming from?
I do not, sir.
Okay. Because Don Wharton lives in California, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure I would have felt comfortable asking him to come out here just to answer a few questions, so I'm glad he's got some other people coming.
Yeah, he does. It's a regional director and a marketing person. I have their names if you want it for
They were on that email,
Okay.
so, yeah, thank you. Okay, anything else, gentlemen?
No, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on. I don't have anything on the Upper Ark to report. I did attend their last meeting. They're trying to schedule a Blue Line Expansion Committee late
Yeah, we had some
February.
confusion on that. Thanks for helping straighten that out. That Blue Line Committee meeting is scheduled for the 21st of February. And I'll put a reminder out to everybody before that time. I did correct it, but so that would be for all water users, not just the people that filed necessarily.
It's the 21st of February. What time is that?
10, I believe.
10 o'clock.
Yes.
Over at the
Same
Smile.
place.
Yeah.
And I'll send a note. You're on the list.
A lot of questions have come to me about what exactly are they wanting to expand.
Yeah,
And
what's
I told them they
augmentation?
would just have to wait and see what comes out of those meetings, I guess. So, but it was a committee put together to look at the expansion of that blue line.
Blue line is, from what I understand, and it's hard to explain, but right now it doesn't include any of Custer County, and they're expanding their blue line into Custer County up to basically Hermit Road, more or less.
Yeah, that's certainly going to be handled in the lawsuit. So,
Yeah.
Attorney items.
I prepared resolution 20-04 that's on the agenda for today, which is officially changing the name from affordable housing to attainable housing. As Jay mentioned, he had an inquiry from the chairman of the tourism board about interviewing applicants for the vacancy and wanting to know if it could be done in executive session. I told her no, that wasn't, you couldn't be handled right. I just confirmed what Jade already told her. I met with Jackie Hobby several times. I wrote 4 letters to property owners in the county who are in violation of the zoning resolution, which is, and I never really get feedback on this, but she says probably 90% or more of the time I write a letter, once they get a letter from the attorney, the people come in and get these issues resolved. So
But you don't really get follow-up on it.
no, they don't let me know. I just, realize, hey, I never heard anything more about that. And she said that it's because it's all been taken care of. And we did have this matter on the agenda today, but after looking into it further and talking to her about it, I realized there's kind of maybe a gap in our zoning resolution. There's no language about enforcement of cease and desist orders, and I'm going to do a little more research on that, but maybe something I recommend that you submit to the Planning Commission to think about that. And then finally, a couple days ago, I got a call from the individual from Pinnacle Assurance. He was the head of the task force involving Mr. Howard. And we haven't heard, he wanted to know if we'd had any further problems, and we've had nothing. And he advised me that somebody in Canyon City did succeed in getting a restraining order, a permanent restraining order against him, and he failed to appear in court the other day, so there was a warrant out for his arrest. And he said that he thought that Mr. Howard would be sent to the Colorado Mental Health Institute for an evaluation. And, but it's not our problem, it's Fremont County's problem. That's all I have. I'm sorry, one other thing, just very briefly to comment on what Bill was talking about with the hospital district. I mean, I see, and this isn't really time to go into it in detail, but if there's not any way they can expand the hospital district without including that mill levy. And, I don't think that's going to happen for the people in the eastern part of the county. If they do proceed by trying to set up a separate special ambulance district, they can do that. That would require retiring the current mill levy they have and getting a new mill levy. And it would also require, Custer County agreeing that the contract we have with them for ambulance service would then be set aside, that it would be handled exclusively through this new district.
Hey Clint, well you brought it up. That SDA is their manual, and it's section 32-1-10 or 401, option C. So you can probably get it on the website or something, but that would be something to take a look at and understand what path they're going to go down, and maybe make sure that happens.
Well, I mean, it can be a special district. As far as the relationship between our hospital district and Heart of the Rockies.
You have that manual?
Heart of the Rockies is not a political subdivision of the state of Colorado. That's going to be a contractual arrangement. that
That's
they
right.
have. But I just wanted to mention that if they're going to do that, it is going to have to be a separate district for the entire county.
Right.
And it would have to be a vote on a new mill levy for that new district. That's all I have for right now.
Okay. I had a follow-up question on another item, Clint. So we were part and parcel litigants to a national lawsuit,
Right,
and that was settled.
right.
Did we ever get paid for that? I
Yes.
remember we had an amount, but did we
We
actually
got
receive
paid,
those
and
funds?
it was, by the time it was divvied up among all the different taxing districts, what did we get, about $800?
15 cents.
I just couldn't remember if we ever
Basic, yeah.
Yeah.
received that money.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, good. Okay, anything else, sir?
No, it's it.
I would like to move on to the next item on the agenda, which would be the administrative assistant items.
I'm good.
You're good? Okay,
One of these days, you're gonna say something to us.
that's right. Public comment. Anything that you'd like to visit with the commissioners about that's not on the agenda today, we'd be more than happy. Yes, sir, Mr. Ron, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, so I'm on the board at Valley Assisted.
Okay?
So here's the deal. Our van actually belongs to the county.
Okay?
So it's got about 300,000 miles on it. So we took it in and it's putting around town right now. Our question is this, number one, is it possible that the county has another vehicle that we could use there? We'd like to know that. And the second question is, what do we do with the van that we have now, because it's titled to the county?
Okay. It's a couple good questions. I thought we had a discussion about transferring ownership of that van to Valley Assisted Living.
We
Did
did.
that happen?
We did, and it has not happened
Okay.
yet.
Okay, so that was our plan and our assumption, or at least my assumption, that that ownership was being transferred to Valley. We had a motion to transfer that ownership directly to Valley. Secondly, to answer your question, it's my opinion that no, we do not have any excess vehicles. We have dispersed those that came out of the sheriff's vehicle rotation, out of their fleet, but those have been designated to go to other entities already. So,
And we don't have a van like that van. It's a van.
Well, they
van.
would have, yeah, we could use whatever.
Yeah.
It's just basically to get these people to their appointments
Appointments,
and
yeah.
stuff like that. We'll look into something else, but in the meantime, if that's still titled to you guys, you want us just to, when we get something else, just return it to you, or what do you want to do with that?
How long they
well, I would guess that's kind of up to you guys. If you don't want ownership of that van, then we will leave it like it is, and we will address that through a motion.
All
Who's
right, okay.
insuring it right now?
They are.
They are, okay.
Yeah, we pay the maintenance and insure it and
Okay,
everything, so.
Just a recommendation that we still transfer it to you so that when you do dispose of it, it'll certainly have at least some value, even though it's very old and ragged, I know that. But
You might as well
use
get the
that
benefit
money,
of it.
then you,
Yeah, okay.
whatever.
Well, just let me know then what to do if you're gonna transfer that, and we'll move on with something else as far as,
This is the transfer lady.
yeah, there you go.
But
I have to plug her.
I feel comfortable assisting assisted living if and when we do have additional vehicles available,
Consider.
that they would be considered as a potential user of those vehicles. I mean, it's certainly worthwhile and it's a good deal, so I'm in favor of it.
Are you using that van currently to transport people outside of the county?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah,
Doctor's appointments, right?
yeah. Well, whatever you have, whatever they need.
Medicine.
Yeah. So I would say probably, I agree with Commissioner Prince, we need to
Try open.
get some traction on moving forward with transferring the ownership of that. Then if you wanted to trade that vehicle in or sell it privately, you could do that and not have to come back here. It would be your guys' vehicle.
Okay.
Do whatever.
Answer the question.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll move on for something else.
Okay.
Thank you.
How many people on your board?
God, I don't remember.
More than 2? Less than 10?
No, there's probably 8, 7 or 8
Yeah. How often do you guys meet?
every 2 months.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, it's every 2 months.
Yeah.
And other than that, we deal with Mary Ann.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Yeah. Other public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on. Any unfinished business, gentlemen? Nor do I. So we'll move on to new business. We'll allow public comment on any action items. The first item on the agenda is consideration of reviewing the vouchers and signing those checks. Did you gentlemen have an opportunity to look over the vouchers?
I do.
As did I. Had a couple questions, got those cleared up with Miss Donna in the financial office.
I have a question after going through the vouchers. What is the procedure and how do we determine who in the county has county cell phones and who in the county do we reimburse for use of their personal cell phone? Do we have a policy on that? Is that just a manager's decision? I'm very confused because I saw a lot of different people with cell phone payments, and I was just, how do we determine that? Who gets that?
That was pre-us, so I've never
Pass the buck, it's fine.
never seen any policy about that. I think that's probably a Vern question in IT. He kind of handles that. I
And
don't
Donna,
know that he
probably.
makes a decision of who gets one and who doesn't, but
I guess the question of
who
when-
pays for
when
them.
we pay it,
Right.
that ought to be a us question, or at least
Yeah.
a us policy.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
They must have passed something because they did it, and it's cheaper for the county because you don't buy a phone. So that's why they
I
did it.
just wonder
Right.
how we determine that. I mean, who we paying for, who
Right.
gets what, who doesn't. Should each road and bridge driver, should we pay their cell phone bill? I don't know in case they get stuck.
Do we
I mean,
know
I
if
don't
any?
know.
Do we
I
know
just
if
don't
we've
know.
ever bought a cell phone for somebody?
I don't know.
Yeah,
That's why I'm
Probably
asking the
somebody
question.
never had a cell phone.
yeah, I think like Gary and there's.
They have
Sheriff's Department.
Sheriff's Department, you guys, I think Vernon has one, but the county buys them and then they're on the county plan.
Now, we do not
We
have
don't.
county-owned phones. We have our own.
Oh, you don't?
Yeah,
Correct.
You used
But
to?
I know the sheriff's
didn't want to carry
department
two
has
phones.
Yeah.
cell phones. I can look into that a little bit. I think it's a great question. I've been trying to compile a list of possible and necessary policies that this county should have and doesn't, and that certainly would go on the list of what is the policy about that. You're not questioning whether we should or shouldn't, you'd just like to know what the policy is. And that's
Absolutely.
a great
I
question.
mean, many people ought to have them. Maybe some people who should have them don't, and they ought to. I mean, we just have to have a plan.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, there ought
I,
to be a plan that says everybody will have a cell phone so we can get hold of you. Because some people don't have them.
Don't know.
yeah, personally, I think we should have a policy manual about an inch thick to run this county on, and I've never seen any.
Well,
So,
we ought to have. I mean, as much as I hate regulation, it's the only way to be equitable with everybody is to have a rule that we all follow.
So
as
you're
opposed
going
to
to ask Donna and somebody else? And come
yeah, I'll
back to us?
follow up on that.
Tom, or you?
See.
Okay, so just a comment. I'll move that we approve the vouchers as presented for January
I'll second it.
2020.
Okay, moving second to approve the vouchers. January 20, further discussion. I had a couple of comments. Let me just finish up this other thing real quick. So upon first glance, I looked at tourism's vouchers and I thought, oh my gosh, here we're writing checks in the amount of $32,000 then I dug a little deeper and realized that the majority of that $32,000 was passed through on the CTO grant. Actually, it was $30,000, and the CTO grant was $32,000 of our neighboring counties that they had these agreements that we voted to be the fiscal agent for the tourism board on that grant. So I didn't have near as much angst with tourism board spending 32 grand after I saw that it was really
You
pass
understand that it's fine.
through money. The other thing that was brought to my attention was a repair bill for Norup Gas, $470.15, that we were charged because the fence contractor that the sheriff's department hired to put in the chain link fence cut the propane line when they were installing that fence.
I had no idea.
I didn't either. I hadn't heard a word about that. Of course, I'm sure Sheriff Barley was handling that. No need for that to come to the commissioners until we were past due on 60 days on this repair bill. So I followed up on that a little bit. Of course, talked with Sheriff Barley about it. Initially, I had told Donna my opinion was that if we owe that money to Norup, we need to pay that because we are in arrears 60 days. The sheriff's department's not, the fence contractor
Who'd they
is
send the
not.
bill?
It's us. It was billed to us. That's why we're 60 days in
Right,
arrears.
so how come we didn't see it?
So I talked to Sheriff Byerly, and he said that he had been involved in that and had talked to the contractor. The contractor twice called Norup for a locate, and both times Nora at Norup said, just don't worry about it, put it in, if something happens we'll come up and fix it, no big deal. So obviously that's how they proceeded. They cut it twice, they come up and fixed it, and so now there's a $470 bill. So that bill is in this set of vouchers. I believe we should pay that. I'm going to vote to pay that today, but I think we need a follow-up conversation with Norup, and obviously once we pay it, there's a slight chance we'd ever get reimbursed for it, but it's on our books as a past due bill, and I'm not real comfortable with that. So Sheriff Byerly said really he believed that the fence contractor didn't have any liability to pay that because they were instructed to put the fence in anyway and not worry about it. So I don't know, but if you want to do something different about paying that, now would be the time to do it, because if we vote to pass this to pay these vouchers, that amount is in there as well. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Further discussion?
Nope, let's do it.
Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of paying the January bills, which, let me just tell you that real quick since I've got that up here.
Not comfortable.
Just a second.
Fix it down. Go backwards.
Those bills total $665,701.58. Prepared to vote, gentlemen? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Nay. Motion carries 2-1. 2 in favor, 1 opposed. Would you like to go on record as opposing?
I would. I feel if they fail to do their job properly after they've been asked to do it 2 times, I don't think we should just pay it. I think we should at least get them to the table and say, is the information we had accurate? First of all, were they really asked twice, and did they really say no? And then determine whether you owe it or not. It's not a tremendous amount of money, but it is our taxpayers' money, and I hate to squander it. If we
That's
don't-
why I think the next step would be to go talk to them.
So I
because
would
that could be
certainly-
worked. And they could reimburse us if that were
I understand that.
the negotiation we have, but that's the way we are.
The chairman said exactly right. Once they get paid, getting it back is going to be a lot harder than, I don't know, it just bothers me that if in fact the information we're hearing, and we only heard one side of course, but if it turns out to be true, I'm not sure we should be liable for it, but that's just how I feel.
Well, I'm willing to go talk to them.
Since you voted against it, you're the last one that gets to sign them today. How's
Well,
that?
just show me up.
Why don't you just initial them instead of sign them?
I'd be happy to go talk to
I'll
them.
be happy to sign them. I knew I'd be outvoted, I just don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Where did you sign him?
If the
We're just
information
initialing
we received is
them.
correct.
Just initial them.
I know, but nobody's done it. I'm get to be first. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Oh.
I'm not allowed to be first.
That's right. You voted your privilege away. Yeah, in spirit, I agree with you, Commissioner Prince. I'm not thrilled about it either, but who owes them the money? We do. Whether it's right or wrong, it's on our books. We're in arrears.
So we can follow up, and I'm willing to do that.
I'm going to send you a bill for my services. And
Okay.
See how you handle
All
that.
right. Probably won't even bring it to a vote. When are you going to start providing the services, sir?
Yeah, I guess that's a good point.
Couldn't
Do
resist
something
that.
down there, right?
Couldn't resist that.
That's okay.
Thank y'all. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Go ahead,
Me?
Jackie. Yes.
Oh.
You raised your hand.
Where's the cutoff line where we don't pay it? It's only $400. Let's just pay it. I'm
That's my
sorry,
point
but
exactly.
if it
wanna
wasn't,
follow up.
if it was wrong, it was wrong. Just my own
Well, yeah.
citizen opinion, but
Well, and I agree with what you're saying, but I think we are going to follow up. It was just, should we hold the money and work it out and then pay them or not pay them, or ask them to reimburse? Bottom line is, we're going to question it and hope
For two reasons. One is to get the money back if it's really real, and the other one is to make sure it doesn't happen again.
who's going to question it?
I'll do it. Actually, he ought to. He's the one that's squeaking, but I'll do it.
I have
No, I'm
I have no problem talking to him.
I'd like to go talk to him.
Well, you are hired to do this. Send us a bill when you're done.
Well, I would recommend then
And
you
I'll bring it
start
back to-
with
Go
Sheriff
ahead.
Byerly.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it would be productive to start with North Gas.
Okay.
But that's just my opinion. Next item of business, consideration of S Brand Company for the strategic plan implementation project. We had talked about putting this on the agenda to consider hiring S Brand out of Fort Collins to conduct the implementation meetings. I'm almost positive that Mr. Bogle is here to provide some input or opinions about that. I would certainly allow that now instead of public comment on this right before we vote. So if you'd like to come forward, sir, you're more than welcome. We need to welcome somebody today. We haven't done that yet.
Good morning. Good morning, sir.
How are you?
This is first time in the chair,
Get that out of your
the
way.
new chair.
Yeah. Be right in his face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Push it down or up or whatever you want to do, Charlie.
So,
I don't know if you're on either.
If it's
yes,
green, it's
thanks,
on.
Ron.
Green, it's on? Okay.
So, just quick background, and you know this as well as we do, that S Brand had given us a quote of $10,000 to conduct 4 meetings to implement the strategic plan. So I think that's where we're at.
Well, I had informed you, within the last week, suggesting that from a practical standpoint, rather than supporting a quarterly meeting, 4 meetings this fiscal year, it would be practical to change that to 3 and adjust the contract from $10,000 to $7,500. Just because, we started this process in December with the idea that we could implement it here in the first quarter, and thinking that that's not practical because we've got to, if approved, integrate it into SBRAM's calendar and get things started up. So that's current status.
Okay. So I have a very pointed question for you, because I think you probably know as much about it as any of us. Can we conduct these implementation meetings locally and not use her?
You asked me if economic development would consider supporting the effort, and that was my recommendation that we did her, mainly because CCEDC has limited resources as being able to do it, and I think the success that we had during the basic program reinforces the idea that she was valuable.
So I got a question to follow that up, Charles, because I haven't seen the proposal. If I did, I overlooked it. Is it out there somewhere?
You were given a contract.
Right.
Oh, I saw it
Sometime.
Okay. Remind me, on the proposal, was it involving the, how was she going to do it? The way we did it before, getting the community involved?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was a matter of resurrecting that, and basically what was
that.
proposed was the same contract that y'all
Yeah.
had amended or had utilized through the conduct of the basic
That's what I
plan.
thought. Wanted to re-verify that. The fiscal year started when? It was just
Your fiscal
Well,
year
just
started
now.
in January.
That's right. So I think the more meetings we have, the better it is. That's how you get people involved. It doesn't matter what we want to spend money on, and do we want to spend it at all?
The more meetings we have, the more money it's going to
Right.
cost us.
4 is 10, and
So,
3 is 7.
Well, the adjustment, the logic was obviously you wouldn't authorize any funds that would go past the end of the fiscal year.
Right.
So, and again, to integrate it into and give us some administrative time at the front, and then to integrate it into the schedule is the reason that I basically, in talking with Cheryl, she agreed.
go ahead, sir.
I'd like to give my thought, because I got a lot of thought to this. It started when you and I had a conversation a while back when you said maybe economic development could do the follow-up. You asked me where we're doing. I said, we haven't done anything. You said maybe we can help with that. And I said, I think that's a really good idea. And I brought it to the commissioners. That's just how we got to the point we are right now. I am opposed to hiring SBRAM for this, and I'll tell you why. I'm opposed to it because we don't have it budgeted. I don't know where it's going to go, and I think our own economic development organization could do just as good a job. So the way my little mind has worked this through, and I agree with you, it's not fair for us to dump something on you and say, hey, you're economic development, go do your thing. That's not right. What I would prefer, before we go any further, is to ask economic development, A, do you even have an interest? And B, if you do, would you make a proposal to us on a fee basis? How much would you charge us for you to gather forces to get in and present this and handle it locally as opposed to going to someone in Fort Collins? I think she did a wonderful job. I think the follow-up of it will take less expertise than it took to prepare the entire plan. And I feel very comfortable if we had to go to our budget somewhere and find the money somehow to help economic development be able to handle these meetings or whatever you recommend to us. I would much prefer to see that than spend 10 grand or 7,500. I read your comments, but you're getting 3/4 of the work for 7,500. It's the same amount of money per meeting. So, I mean, I think it absolutely needs to be followed up. If not, we wasted all the money we did to put the plan in place. And I think we need professionals who could do it. And I think economic development has that expertise and can gather people in the community to help us with it. That's just my thought.
Okay. I guess the same concern I would have if we haven't budgeted for SBRAN to do it. We haven't budgeted for Economic Development Committee to do, or company to do it either. But
Okay, let's look at it internally then. What organization have we got? We've got economic development committees, whatever we've got. We've got a tourism board. We've got other boards that have separate interests that intersect with the strategic plan. So the other option not to spend any money would be to pull together our volunteers.
yeah, I'm not aware of any economic development committees.
No, but
Yeah.
we had.
So,
I think I think the point's well taken, but I think the closest we come is economic development. I mean, they were very instrumental with the plan that you put together. They were involved in all the way through. They understand this portion
Right.
of it. And it just makes, I would much rather have local, and I'd like to have it for a whole lot less money.
No, we don't know they'd be a whole lot less yet.
Well, we don't know. That's why I said I would suggest a proposal from them. They may come back and say,
you're looking at Charles like he's got
$20,000.
deep pockets.
Well, when he originally
Sorry,
brought it
Tom.
to me,
I hit
the
you.
impression I got, and I may be totally wrong, and if I am, forgive me, was that you were willing to take this on, and we didn't discuss money at all. You were willing to take it on as economic development will help implement the plan.
Well, we didn't go out for bids, which we probably should
I
have.
get it. But the point was, the original discussion, I said, well, this really makes sense. This is before we even talked to SBRAN about coming in and implementing. I said, someone needs to implement this. If not, we just wasted a ton of money on a really pretty plan and a great, picture that we have, that kind of thing. It's wonderful. But it's a waste of money if we didn't. And I had that problem from day one when we decided to do another strategic plan.
No, and I agree.
But, if this organization comes and says, hey, I have the expertise, or I can get the expertise to do it, I don't have to make a profit. I'm not telling you what to do, but I mean, they may come to us and say, look, I can do it for a much lower rate because I'm not charging $7,500 a meeting. I mean, $2,500 a meeting. That seems like a heck of a lot of money. But at any rate, this is why I would rather keep it local.
Okay, so my point of view is similar. We have a strategic plan that we said we're going to execute. That to me means any action we do that affects the economy of this county has to be done in concert with how it intersects with that strategic plan and how it advances us down that plan. Some of which we are doing already, which are going down the fiber optic broadband path. That was number 3 on the list.
That was going to happen regardless.
No, but that's not the point. The point is there's other things. Like the agribusiness. We sure don't want to execute a law, a regulation or something that would go contrary to promoting that. We've got to keep focused. And so part of the plan would be to have people help keep us focused, would be reminding us that the strategic plan exists, and that if you go down that path, you're jumping off the wagon. And a part of the way to do that is to have these periodic meetings to review that plan and what actions we are doing and have done and what we could do to promote staying on that plan. That's what Cheryl Trent's going to do, or Charles, or anybody else would be to take a look at where we are and what's out there.
That's exactly correct.
That's right. So
based on that, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we ask our economic development group 2 questions. The first is, are you willing? And B, if the answer to the first one is yes, would you be willing to prepare a proposal to us to handle an implementation of the plan that we have? And I'm not going to say 4 meetings. Whatever you feel it's going to take to get this thing up and running. If the answer to the first question is yes, of course. If the answer to the first question is no, then we probably need to go back and talk to Cheryl, because I don't know who else would do it.
do you want all this in your motion, sir?
That's my motion. You seconding or what?
It's been moved. Is there a second?
what was the motion to
The
do?
motion
Just to
is
get another
that
bid?
We ask our economic development organization if they have an interest in handling the follow-up, and if they do, to present a proposal to the commissioners.
before we make a second on it, is there any other?
Well, we're not going to discuss it without a second.
No, I'm not. I'm not discussing his motion. We're discussing the what he's proposing.
I want to go out for bid. I want our local people to do it.
I'm asking if there's
Well-
anybody else local.
We're all out of order.
Yes, we are.
I will second the motion so we can be in order.
So what are there?
So it's been moved and seconded to
That's
ask Economic Development Corporation to submit a proposal to conduct the implementation plans. Further
So
discussion.
the only question I have is there other local outfits in here? Charles, do you know?
I've said before, and I say again, CCEDC is the only organization in Custer County
Okay.
that's focused on economic
Now,
development.
now we got it.
But I would also say, I was in responding to the initial inquiry, and not to say that we won't relook, but the fact is, we were asked for a suggestion for support. We provided
Right.
one.
Nobody's questioning that. You've
Okay.
done exactly what we
So-
asked you to do.
So are you
So-
so are you saying if we voted to do this, you're saying no already?
No, I'm not saying that because I have a board that I need to talk to. But the point being is we do a lot of things that aren't necessarily visible to you all. We certainly have an interest of carrying out this action.
But is it in conflict?
Well, I've only got, as you all have, only limited resources, and it's going to take a significant effort for the balance of the year at least to do this. We certainly support the idea that it needs to be done. What we did was trying to not distract from other things that the Economic Development Organization does and keep it with the momentum that we had before. Well, I say at least with the professionalism that S-Brand offered previously. So
Okay.
Okay, one other question then that brings up. Is it possible then, given that, we could stand up a county committee for that strategic plan and look for the possibility of somebody who has, and there are people that have retired up here that did this for a living, strategic development kind of things. Possibly that could be an option.
If I may go, and I think that's correct. I think personally, I want them to answer whether they want to do it, and if they came back and said no,
Okay,
then I would say let's pursue Plan
because
B.
I think that's a viable
Because they've been
possibility.
involved in this from day one. They know the ins and outs better than I do, for sure, better than another person in the county. So my feeling is they're the right people.
Okay.
I guess reflecting back the step prior, which was the community assessment, we ended up with one of the action items from that community section was to do a economic strategic plan. My frustration from that was that, and I admitted, I said, I don't know how to get from the community assessment to the strategic plan. And that's why, and I've had a dialogue, we had the effort to get the funding for the community assessment and the strategic plan was on the order of 4 years. So, yes, we've certainly pushed that, but again, what the other things we're doing, both individually and personally, as it related to broadband stuff like that, I've only got certain assets, people-wise, that we can dedicate that. It's a moving target. We can certainly relook at it, but point of this situation is we did make a recommendation that we'll
So something
certainly
to
be
think
responding
about
to.
then in parallel. If we did have him go and take a look, fine, see what it costs. We could also put out a request from the community for a person that may want to be interested in helping
implement that plan and keep it structured and see what happens.
Further discussion? Public comment? Here. Yes, ma'am.
Seems like, are you not obligated to put it out for bid or not?
I don't think so, because we've already hired her to do some work. I don't know the legality of that necessarily, but I don't feel like we'd need to know. It's my thoughts. Clint, if you have anything. Yes, ma'am.
Just points of clarification, because I'm not really familiar with the history of the strategic plan. When is it? First of all, is it published anywhere, like on the county website?
Yes.
Okay. And when was the strategic plan published?
Finished up last July.
July.
Roughly.
Okay.
6 months ago.
Okay.
Further public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote.
Let me ask this before. So we determined we don't have to put it out for bid. We know that for truth. Legally.
We're just asking them to present us a proposal. That's all
we
we're
can-
doing. That's all we're doing. Which in effect is putting it out for bid, but the motion is to ask them to come bring us a proposal to do the strategic plan implementation.
Which would mean to me, then we would have to, if we're going to vote on anything after that, we would want to get proposals to bounce it against.
Well,
Possible.
that's down the road, certainly, and that would be up to the commissioners, whatever we decide to do. We're not committing or non-committing to do anything other than asking them to
There are
bring us
things in the government that are
Right.
unsolicited proposals, and that's possible to do. You know, people come up all the time with those kinds of things.
I mean, if we look back at the previous phase of this, it was significantly more money and it wasn't, we didn't compete.
We're overwhelming the
Oh,
audio a little, sorry.
I was just trying to help.
Yeah.
We didn't know it
Sounded
so
good.
You sound like an announcer.
Further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Aye.
Motion carries. So if you would do that, sir, we'd appreciate it.
It was a wincing
Will
aye.
be, we don't have another board meeting until the latter part of February, so it'll be early March before we could respond.
Okay. I have a question I want to pose to Commissioner Kanda pertaining to this, and you're welcome to. I'm not trying to dismiss you. I just didn't want to bring this question up because it wasn't relevant to the
You're welcome
to the
stay.
motion. You've been involved in this strategic plan. I'm going to say more than myself, certainly. I can't speak for Commissioner Prince. Would you feel capable of facilitating these 2 or 3 implementation plan meetings, community meetings?
I would be capable. I don't know if time-wise, that's another story. You need to think about that. I would be willing to go out and try to find some help.
Okay, well, let's move forward with that. And we hear back from you. Obviously, we were looking at the second, third, and fourth quarters, so it's not like we're all of a sudden behind schedule because we didn't vote on this today necessarily, in my opinion. But I think we do need to try to keep forward momentum. Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Charles.
You sounded good, by the way.
Yeah. Saw it when you were right.
I didn't know.
If there are no objections, Chair would move to take about a 5-minute recess. Hearing none, stand in recess. Before we move on, I need to make a correction. I made a false statement earlier when I said that the commissioners voted to purchase a retirement gift for Roger Squire, that was not correct. We did not vote to do that. I polled the board, asked them if they had any objection to that. As chairman, I made the decision to purchase that gift and present it to Roger at his retirement party. So yeah, that's exactly right. We gave him a 65-quart Yeti cooler. I'd never been around those Yeti coolers. They're a little above my pay grade. I couldn't believe how heavy the thing was empty. It was amazing, but he was very excited about that. So
Did it have clips on the bottom to anchor it to a thicker bed? Because I've seen them that way.
yeah, you can tell it's molded for a strap to go over the top to
Is
be
it?
anchored down. And in that vein, then, I would move to ratify the action of the chairman purchasing that gift for
So
Roger
moved.
Squire.
No?
You and I say no, and he has to buy it himself.
Yeah. I think Tom ought to buy it.
Need a second.
Yeah, I'll get a second. Is there a second?
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded to ratify the action of the chairman purchasing a retirement gift for Roger Squire. Discussion. Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries or ratification carries. Thank you. Yeah, you were getting ready to try to hang me, weren't you? Next item of business on the agenda is consideration of the transfer of funds from the attainable housing to general fund. Ms. Kelly?
So we need to transfer $1,854.48 from affordable housing to the county general, and what this is for is to pay the taxes on the lots that were bought in Silver Cliff for attainable housing.
I move that we transfer the money in the sum of, where is it? $1,854.48 from the general fund to the housing fund. From affordable housing to the general fund. I'm sorry, I had it backwards.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to transfer money from attainable housing to general fund. Do we have that document in hard copy, ma'am?
Jesus, the ghost of Meredith is back.
That's fine. That's what we're getting ready to vote on. Okay. Discussion. Public comment. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of transferring $1,854.48 from affordable housing to general fund, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Carries. Ms. Kelly's the only signature required on that document, so I think we're good there. I have the electronic. I just didn't have a paper copy because we weren't signing it, so. Next item of business, consideration of the Fremont County Humane Society contract. Gentlemen should have a copy of that. As you will recall, there was some typographical errors in the original document. We sent it back to them and asked for that to be cleaned up. So they did provide that.
I move. What will we have to do with this? Did we have a motion?
We did not have a motion. We postponed it until we had the correct.
Okay, so
corrected contract.
so the appropriate motion would be to approve the agreement.
The contract.
Correct.
Contract, right? So I move we approve the contract Humane Society of Fremont County Incorporated impound agreement.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agreement with Fremont County's Humane Society. Discussion. It's in the amount of $302.67. That's an annual fee. The rest of that contract, well, I don't think the price changed either from last year. So, further discussion.
It's a no-kill shelter, and they do a nice job.
Right. Public comment. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of approving the contract with the Humane Society of Fremont County, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Get that dug out here and I can't remember, to be honest with you. I don't think so. Pardon? So, so I'm assuming we'll see a forthcoming invoice from them once they get this contract. Ms. Kara? Hate to get in the middle of your stamping back there. Next item of business, consideration of amending the board appointments for 2020, particularly the RETAC. I believe I provided gentlemen with a copy of that.
Was that the only amendment? Seems like there was another problem somewhere else. Maybe we fixed it before. I can't remember.
Pull that document up.
The tourism board will be coming to you with recommendations after they meet.
That's right.
But that, they're not at
Right.
that point yet.
Right. So I would move that we amend the board appointments for, and it's actually Southern Colorado RETAC, as follows: Elizabeth Archuleta, Kit Shy, Patrick Fiore to expire in 1/21. Justine Beach, Alyssa Lavengood, and Rob Fogel as alternates to expire in 1/21.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded to amend the board appointments as reported. Discussion. This came out of a discussion at the last CES meeting.
Right. So they're one-year appointments, right?
Correct.
Tell me
Here.
I've got it right here. I just need the name, how you did that again.
The representatives are Beth Archuleta, Kit Shy, and Patrick Fiore.
Expiring,
1/21.
okay.
And then the alternates to those three in order are Justine Beach, Alyssa Lavengood, Rob Fogel.
Okay.
Is that how they pull them up if somebody pulls off?
Each
that order.
representative has an alternate.
Yeah.
Alyssa and
So we're changing the expiration date? From what we
No,
did
there
on-
was, we had 8 people on this list originally,
Yeah.
and we can only have 6.
Oh,
And the 8 we had were not these people particularly, so we're making several changes there. I did not provide a strike through on that, I just changed it based on the recommendations from the CES meeting. So Justine Beach, Alyssa Livengood, and Rob Fogel are the alternates. The 1-year appointments. Further discussion, gentlemen? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of amending the board appointments, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item of business, consideration of resolution 20-04. Your pleasure.
We changed the name of affordable housing to attainable housing and approve resolution 20-04.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve resolution 20-04, changing the name of Custer County Affordable Housing Board to the Custer County Attainable Housing Board. Discussion. Thank you, Clint, for your work on this. Appreciate it.
Where's the hard copy of that?
Right here.
You're going to sign it today, if we approve.
It's a resolution, so we'll all 3 sign that if it's approved. Discussion. Public comment. Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor of adopting resolution 20-04, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next item of business is ratifying, signing the letter of commitment for our OEM manager to attend the Emergency Managers Academy. I believe I provided you with a copy of that. Do you have that, gentlemen? Okay. I would move that we ratify the action of the chair signing this document, this letter of commitment for our OEM to attend the 2020 Colorado Academy for Professional Emergency Managers.
What I have here has been signed and dated.
Is there a second?
I second. It's a ratification.
We're ratifying.
Oh, we're ratifying it, okay.
Any discussion?
Where is this being held?
That is one of the reasons I asked our OEM manager to come in.
In Denver. And Centennial, and then there's going to be another one in that area. It's every other month, starting in March. There's only 3 or 4 sessions of it, so the time commitment's not extensive.
I was just
Yeah.
curious. I didn't know if we're flying the California to do it.
No, and the
That's a
lodging
great
is taken
question.
care of by the state.
Yeah. Yeah, and the situation we got into, and we have all agreed that we don't like to do this any more than necessary, but to her credit, Meredith did not get this until
The 17th?
17th, and it needed to be resubmitted by the 30th. So, yeah, it was a great point. I mean, or did I just sign away to send her to some Maui, Hawaii?
That'd be nice. I can look into that.
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
So the next time we do this, we'll probably have voted, done it all, and then we'll think to ask, where is this, by the way? So, further discussion,
I think this is wonderful.
Yeah,
I'm
and-
really glad you're doing it.
and really a pretty good commitment. I mean, that's 4 trips, 3 days each. So,
In the big city, so be careful.
You get to take your shiny truck?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
further discussion, public comment. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote on ratifying the action of the chair signing this commitment letter. Say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. The next item of business, consideration of a broadband cooperative agreement with Silver Cliff, West Cliff, Custer County, and the Colorado Department of Transportation. Commissioner Prince, would you like to take the lead, sir?
Because I'm not really sure what this agreement is for.
What are we talking about?
That's why I asked Commissioner
Oh.
Prince to, or Commissioner, did I say Commissioner
Yeah,
Prince?
you meant
I'm
me.
sorry, I meant
I-
Commissioner Cannon.
I was looking at something else.
Sorry,
That's
sorry.
I put it on the
I
agenda.
got Carmel's letter,
Yeah.
and I saw where he moved forward,
Yeah.
but I didn't know where we're going with it.
No, I put it on the agenda to discuss this, so that's
Thank you.
what I did. So let me bring you up to speed. I don't have the letter, but it doesn't matter. So when I got this, I immediately called them and discussed it with them because it was very unclear and as to what it meant. Have you got a copy of that?
This was the Carmel letter you're
Yeah.
talking about? Yeah.
I sent them back to you. In the meantime, you saw the other note from Rivera, who had requested that the department. The good news is they've made a lot of progress. Their war report or the weekly activity report outlined that, and they made big strides with the CDOT guys. And in fact, the biggest thing to note is that Bob Pfeiffer himself took this on. He didn't pass it down to somebody else to do. It's that important to him. And so they're more than willing to do that. What the CDOT guys needed was a commitment or a letter of request from the county, stating that we request the use of their rights of way. And Carmel screwed the letter up because he had each of the entities signing a thing, and then in the note he says, and oh, by the way, if you have a better way of doing it, don't worry about it. All that. I told him, stop being that way. And so he's rewriting the letter, and they asked for that the county represent the municipalities. It's the county requesting the right-of-ways, the roads coming through the counties, and that's an agreement between us and the municipalities. They're partnering together. We have that IGA. So they want one voice. Go make sure that they negotiate similar to what we've done with other things, the airport contracts, et cetera.
Didn't we already do that when the
Well, I am the
two towns in the county
yes.
all authorized Carmel to
No,
speak on our behalf?
but they can't sign. He can't sign an agreement with the government agency. What we did is we got representatives from each organization, and I was the representative for the county to sit with the mayors and etc. So I did call Paul Winke and Steve Laswell up and told them they were going to take a look. I said, don't do any action on this, like we're not going to respond to his request to sign that letter. What action I think is required today is to allow one of us to be the point of contact for this program with CDOT, so that when we make our decisions countywide and municipality agreements, that we can act with them. So I'm more than happy to be that point of contact. What are you looking for?
All right.
Help you find it? It's in our packet.
And then Carmel can rewrite the request, the actual request for the rights of way in the correct way to back to the CDOT. So the action that we need to do today is just to decide.
I don't have it.
Want me to email it?
Yes.
I emailed it to you.
I didn't have it in my board packet.
It wasn't in mine either, so
I like it.
maybe you just put it in there, Jay. You were better.
He's a fast
He was
guy.
on top of it.
Do you have a date on the email itself?
Day before yesterday. What was it? That night. Tuesday night. I sent his original letter, and then I forwarded Rivera's request for a single point of contact.
I've got it.
Found it?
I found the email.
Okay.
So, the only action we need to complete today is agreeing that the county needs to speak for the program, and we will work. That single point of contact would be me or Jay or you, and we would coordinate the meetings and get the reports forwarded that have to be forwarded and any actions done, and then we agree to do whatever we're going to do and move forward. Let me explain it.
Fine if you want to do it.
I've been doing it, so I don't mind doing it. It's not going to be that bad. One thing I'll clarify for you, the rights of way, it's hard to pick it out of what Carmel said. They agreed to do it for 2 empty conduits. And the empty conduits will be filled by them after, they're pulled in.
Them.
CDOT. CDOT wants the ability to pull fiber, and they also have the other conduit. They also pull power as well. So the power goes along with it, and then when they put it out there, to put a sign up and say, watch out for deer, or the weather's bad and that, whatever. Then all he said, which confused it in the end, and made everybody think there's something else going on, was that they would be willing to also at some point negotiate for paying for us for additional fiber off our main fiber line. So that was an interesting concept, but that's something that has nothing to do with now. It has to do with getting the ability to give CDOT a single point of contact.
Next question. Kind of just a macro type question. Are you satisfied with the work that the Carmel Group is doing for the being that took charge?
I'm satisfied technically that Rivera is the guy. Mark Carmel has problems in communication, and he's he's got good contacts, he's into everything. They've made strides. They've talked with Teresa Ferguson at length. They respect him and what he's trying to do. He just can't divorce himself, I think, from his prior political jobs that he's had, being a city manager and those kinds of things, and becoming a program manager. Rivera is the program manager. He is the technical guy, and he's doing a great job. And he's
So you're satisfied
I
with
really
the
am.
contract that we have at this
Yes,
point?
and it's going to be
That was just
successful.
my question.
And it's not they're not going to be executing the program. They're executing going after the grants, and they can do that. And they are going after more than just the USDA grant. There are other sources, and I learned that up there at this rural counties meeting as well that they're pursuing. The other thing that I found interesting, CenturyLink, in my discussion with him, and Carmel's already been working with them as well because they need a count on what the broadband population, the addresses that CenturyLink's hitting. And the state reduced the requirement from a 20, whatever it was, down to a 10-1. So anything 10-1 and above, they feel that's satisfactory to meets the state broadband capability for rural counties or rural districts.
Who feels that?
The state, the broadband board, Teresa Ferguson, for example.
10-1.
10-1 is all.
I don't
So-
buy it.
10-1. Get that off your dial.
I know. No, you don't. But
You know what I mean.
but that's
not much.
So what that means is it doesn't mean that you don't want more. It just means that from a granting authority point of view, it creates an issue. If you're going after a grant and 90% of the users have to have less than 10-1, then it makes it hard to justify the grant. CenturyLink's working with these guys to figure out what capabilities they're providing where, so we know what addresses they hit are either meeting that requirement or not. And also, they're working to help build the case. For example, this program would bring fiber in. If you go from the south up, from Walsenburg up, every address down there counts, all the way up into here. Where it starts getting into where we've got broadband capability would be, on what CenturyLink's done just off of Horn Road, and then up here up to the Pines, and then the towns, etc., and out here to the south. So they're giving them a count. Also, they got to figure out how the current CCOM wireless programs are also providing service as well. And so there's a lot of work that they have to do in pulling these grants together. And Teresa Ferguson seemed to think that the work, it's going to be a job, but it's doable. And Sally Clark has the same issues as far as the fiber goes on where we are. So they've got a good foothold. They've got a good start with CDOT backing it with the rights-of-ways, and accounting for the cost of those rights-of-ways meets the cash match requirements. That's being worked as well. So the first meeting they're going to have is going to be with Sally Clark's ops manager that we had the meeting with that day that they were in here, and he's this guy in Arizona. So we'll stand by.
So you're saying the Colorado Broadband Board has reduced their minimum requirements from 25.3 down to 10.1?
That's the word I got
From
Ferguson. And from, that's what Tim Kunkelman has also been working with as well.
Yeah,
Tell you what, 10.1's better than my 175 kilobytes, but it's not what you want. So we'll see how we navigate those as the program evolves.
Pull up another document here.
So we take it a step at a time. Do you want to act on the request for a single point for the county?
Well, so I read Rivera's,
Note.
no, his letter.
Which one you got? Well, that's the one we're disregarding. Oh, that's the activity report.
So
This
this
one.
letter to Pfeiffer from Rivera, I'm assuming he wrote this, Rivera did, it's not from him. You did not write this,
I didn't.
correct?
No, I had nothing to do with it.
So I got some issues with this. I certainly will not vote to sign this document without something else. Now, I get
Let
that
me
it's a
let me go
draft.
back to what I just said. This is not going to be signed. Pull it back up. This I had a lot of issues with. This is the one that we asked all entities to sign. Nobody's going to sign that.
Okay.
That's been thrown away because it's not correct. And it's
Okay, what's not correct
First of
about
all,
it?
they
Let's
don't
start
want
with that.
they don't want 3 people signing up. They want one point of contact.
Got that, yeah.
They want to have the request asking for the rights of ways. They don't need the additional nonsense they had in there about future. How did he state it? I don't remember how he stated it. So that is not what we're discussing.
Okay,
Neither are the 2 mayors in their board meetings. They have voided that request. What they want us to act on is the letter that Rivera sent following this package
okay, where is that letter?
in the same.
I'm confused too. I'm not reading the right
I
thing.
wish I had to go back to your email, Tom. Let's see if I can find it. It'll be quicker.
The date of the email. I thought I had it, but I don't think I do. What date did you have?
129.
Let me pull it up here for you. Updated information, day and time. On 8. Here it is. Let me read it. It says, during our conversations with Bob Pfeiffer, CDOT's Intelligent and Transportation Systems Manager, we were informed that CDOT requires that any agreement and letter of intent to use the CDOT rights of way must be negotiated with and signed off by the county, whose jurisdictions includes the towns and cities. Therefore, for the purposes of our fiber broadband initiative, the lead agency or entity that CDOT will ultimately contract with must be Custer County, working on behalf of Silver Cliff and Westwood. Custer County BOCC should appoint a commissioner to represent the fiber broadband program to CDOT and to coordinate program activities between them and the county and the municipalities. The letter of intent and intergovernmental agreement with CDOT should be signed and approved by the Custer County designated lead after that coordination. Time is of the essence to secure the letter of intent with CDOT. That's what they sent. And that's why I asked everybody not to, we don't need to work on behalf of that because that letter has not been coordinated with any of us. And I asked them to rewrite it.
Yeah, I don't want any part of this, I'll be honest with you.
That's right.
I certainly don't have a problem with appointing or selecting a commissioner to be a point of contact, but I don't think we have any business selecting a commissioner to sign contracts with or agreements.
That's the point of
without us.
contact. Well, that's not what it's asking. It's the same thing we do. We designate somebody to act for the county. We designate you to sign things. We've designated Jay to sign things. That's all they're asking for is just send the email to this guy and he'll disseminate it and we'll coordinate what we have to coordinate to agree to what they're asking us to do or not.
ultimately contract with Custer County. I'm
Right.
not comfortable with one of us signing a contract. I don't mind having you or anybody else be the point of contact, but
Well,
I certainly wouldn't.
no, that's correct, Tom. We've done that in the past, though. Yeah, for example, I, in acting for the county, signed the contract with Seifert when we had him do the berm. And that was under the, after we had agreed to go do that.
That's right, after
So
we had
that's
agreed.
that's what they're saying here. We coordinate. Maybe they're not saying it right, but that's how I took it.
In my opinion, I don't care who of the three of us
Sign
signs,
it.
as long as we all had input.
We all have
and
input,
We all agree.
but that's how I read this.
I
Let me read
understand,
it
but
again.
I can read that both ways.
Can you?
It
Well, let's
says
make
the
it
letter of intent and intergovernmental agreement with CDOT should be signed and approved by the Custer County's designated lead. I don't agree with that.
After, I would never,
There's
you would
nothing
never
there.
sign it unless we did it together, wouldn't you?
Say by the Board of County Commissioners
Well,
solves
we
the
could-
issue, we appoint.
All right, so
whoever.
that's all we gotta do.
Just fix it.
That's, yeah,
It's easy.
we can do that.
So,
It's not hard.
Kill this.
So I think I agree with the concept. I think we all do. They need somebody to talk to. That they're not dealing with 3 municipalities. They're dealing with one organization. It's the county.
Yeah, but I, as a county, am not comfortable signing anything on behalf of West Cliff or Silver Cliff.
that's another issue.
But that's something that we work. That's the whole point. That's why I told them to throw this away. We have to go back to the 2 organizations. Say, are you comfortable with
Bill, I
the
appreciate
county
what you did.
representing that?
Let's get in front of us
That's-
what we want to approve or not approve.
That's right. So
let's
right
get-
now, all I care
right
about
now,
is
this
is that we would consider, for us, I think this is correct. I think the county should be the lead organization. If the 2 municipalities agree, then we come back and we coordinate a program issue. I would never sign as the county and ignore what Westcliff didn't want to do. I mean, that's the IGA.
This is in its infancy, and you're going to come back with something better for us to.
Yeah, we can. Let's. That's why I brought it up.
Good.
I want us to agree that right now this is the right idea. How we execute it, we'll come back and we'll say the county will be the lead organization for the county, including the municipalities. We can talk to Paul and Steve. I informally did that already and asked them what they thought. They said they'd be more than happy to have us work together, and then us, one guy from the county, sign up
I'm
there.
fine with that. As long as it's the 3 of us agreeing, and then one entity, whether it's us
That's
or
right.
them, we don't care, signs off on it with all agreeing,
Right.
I'm fine with it.
So Tom, I can. So now, how do we handle it? Is the reason I'm bringing this up.
We need a
I have an informal agreement with Laswell and Winky.
We need a letter agreement with them.
That's right. So let's.
It doesn't have, in my opinion, and council may feel differently, just this is to agree, and that the county and the 2, we're going to work together, and we're going to be
Okay.
we'll confer with you, and then we'll make the final.
So let's get a proposal going here on what that would be.
Exactly.
Are we going to act on something now to say we're going to go off and come up with the structure, and in our next meeting we'll look at what we're going to officially do?
Well, I'd say, my opinion is, if you want to take the lead on drafting a document that all 3 entities sign, giving the county the authority to serve as the lead,
Right.
then I'm comfortable with that.
That's what I'm.
I just didn't care for the way this email was written.
And Bill agrees with
Well, he doesn't know anything. Rivera just knows that CDOT says the county has to do it. Give me one guy from the county that does it, a commissioner.
And you know what? If I was CDOT, I'd say exactly the same
Sure.
thing. I don't want one
I'm
mayor
not going to
saying
go
this,
and
another
I'm
mayor
not going to
saying
coordinate
that.
this and have a
get
separate
it.
question, and I'm going to go work over here.
If I was CDOT, I'd say the same thing.
Right. So that's why I brought it up, and so I agree. Let's. So what's the action out of here? The next meeting, after this meeting, I'll go talk to Paul.
Let's get a simple agreement signed by the commissioners and the mayor saying that the county, after conferring with the 2 municipalities, will be the spokesperson for the 3 entities. And I think if everybody signs that, I'm comfortable.
Do you want to write it, or Clint?
Either way, Clint gets paid more than I do.
I think Clint can. We already have an IGA.
I'd be
with
happy to
them, right?
do it if you want.
But whatever makes everybody happy, I'm good with.
Yeah, I get it. We just need to do it in the proper
This
format.
is a whole change of process here.
It
It
is.
has no reflection of what we
Yeah, we had no
have
idea.
written in our agreement.
Right. The agreement says we want to go do this together. That's all it says.
And now we're saying,
Now we're gonna say-
we want to filter us to one point to deal with.
Right, and you know, if you
CDOT.
think about it, it's good business sense because everybody has to get the issues out, and if each organization is going to pay for issues, or we all pay for that program, then we have to understand what's going on, and there has to be a coordination between the three governments.
I have no issue with it.
Why don't you write it, Jay? Because I was doing some legal research while you were talking about this.
I'll get something to you.
We were talking about buying
Let's
a
do it
horse.
so we can agree on this
We were
on
talking about buying a
Tuesday or
horse.
Wednesday.
Okay.
I will write something and I will send it to all three of you, because I'll have it ready. And then we could wordsmith it.
Okay.
And we'll go for
It'll be something that I will take to Paul and Steve for their board meetings to talk
Right,
to.
but we need to get our words.
That's right. Wanna
And
get
then
it
they
right.
can agree, and they may want to wordsmith it further. I'll have something to you this evening.
Okay, and then we can take a look at it at the next meeting, which would be on the 3rd.
Right.
And then we could ratify all three by the next meeting, which is the 4th.
I'm fine, I'll be happy.
Our meeting's on the 4th and 5th.
Oh, is it the 4th and 5th? Oh, that's right, I'm sorry. 3rd is Monday.
If you can come on the 3rd, we'll just wait for us.
You know what, on the 4th, we're gonna be all lucky to get here. It's gonna be a tremendous snowstorm.
Yeah.
Now, with regards to the other letter that was going to be from the three entities, I understand you said this went off of the table. I'm assuming the contents of this will come back on the table.
In some form, that's understandable.
This is the first mention of two conduits.
I haven't heard.
And again, I don't know who authored this letter. I'm going to assume
Carmel did.
Rivera or Carmel did, but in exchange for CDOT's authorization for use of its rights-of-ways, we propose to provide CDOT with a minimum of two 2-inch conduits.
At our expense.
I didn't think we were putting in any fiber for the CDOT.
We didn't. That's not fiber, Tom. That's the conduit.
Well, sorry, not fiber, conduits.
Yeah.
None of this project has anything to do with fiber. It
No,
was
what-
only installing the conduit.
Right.
There was no discussion between the three entities about putting in a conduit for CDOT.
Yes, there was. But that's how CDOT, they proposed the program in the first place. CDOT has always worked on these programs with government agencies. They get the grants together, and that's how they leverage CDOT's cash match. They have to have something to match it with, and that's when they pull in, you dig a hole in the ground and you're putting an empty fiber in for CDOT to use later, and that's what their
Not fiber,
trade
but
is.
conduit.
Not fiber, it's the conduit itself. And what they do with the pipe all that long, they can fill it with what they want, and it's at their expense. It's not part of this program. That's what CDOT wants to have, is the ability to use that of the graded pipe. Anyway, the other thing that's in there was that there's a chance that they'll pay money as well, but he's mixing things up.
Yeah, I mean, this says we're going to provide them with two conduits and 24 to 48 strands of fiber in
That they
exchange for
would,
their
for money.
right of way. So
That's not in the case, so we'll see what, I asked him to rewrite it, get clear, and stop mixing things up.
I signed the IGA. There was nothing in there about two conduits for CDOT.
The IGA was to work with the proposal to raise money to do it, and that's what they're doing. And that's the program CDOT has. So you're right, it didn't say,
That document can go away.
yes, just throw it away, it's worthless. And we're not signing it, nobody is. I debated on whether to send it, because the only reason I sent it to you two is because they'd already sent it to Winky, and so I wanted everybody to see the same thing, because they'd already withdrawn this letter. But it's clear now, I mean, it's... So what I'm gonna have them do as part of their work for us, they need to not just give us weekly activity reports. I'm going to ask them to, we'll have a meeting with the three governments once we get going here, and they can explain things to us so we can ask questions like this with them. All we're trying to do, in my view right now, is set up the program to get moving.
Okay, next item of business, consideration of approving the ambulance certifications. You gentlemen have those?
Yep. And by the way, just so you know, the hospital board was looking forward to their certification with us. That was their first handout saying, thank you guys.
Which we don't do it, really, but
Yeah, the
thank you
signs.
very much.
You're welcome.
Can I bring something I've kind of been festering with a little bit with ambulance? Is it okay, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Sorry. Thank you. Is their approach the best approach for this county? That is what I want to know.
Whose approach?
The approach that you outlined to us this morning from your meeting yesterday, my question is this the best approach for the citizens of Custer County? And if it is, I'm all on board. If it is not, I think we have to do something.
That's why I
That is
brought
our
up
job.
the same thing in the meeting, was that it's all well and good that you're covering the district, and you've got a program to update everybody's certificates. Is that the best? And that's why I said we ought to meet once in a while to discuss.
I don't even want to meet. I want to ask the question.
Okay.
Is their plan satisfactory to the commissioners, that their plan is the best plan for this county? And if it is not, we need to move forward on our plan. And if we feel it is appropriate, then we back off and we monitor. And if
So
we need
would
to
you,
get back in, we get back in.
I agree. Would you, and that's just me just thinking out loud, recommend that they come over here and present it?
Do what? I'm
You
sorry.
want to have them present their plan to us?
Is it gonna
How do
be-
you want to understand
Well,
it? They offered to send, and I was disappointed, they didn't send the statistics that they sent, nor the process they're going to go through with the certifications. But we can get all that information.
I'm asking a question. I'm not trying to cast a dispersion on what they're trying to do. But my job is to take care of the people of this county, and I want to make sure that they have a plan. Is it the best plan? If it is not the best plan, we need to intervene. If we feel it's a reasonable plan, we want to let them implement it, go implement it. If we find later it's not the right plan, we step back in. I don't want to just say, oh, well, they got a plan, I'm done, let's move on.
I
I don't
agree.
want to do that.
So what do you propose? I agree. What do you want to do?
I'm asking the question because we left it hanging, and I felt uncomfortable when we left it hanging. Maybe we need to sit down with them. We invited them to the table to work with us. We have heard nothing back.
I
from
told them
there.
yesterday, yeah, I came back and I told you what I heard.
They did not write back to us. We wrote them a letter. And they had their own little meeting. We have our own little meetings. I mean, we asked them to sit down and work jointly towards a solution that we felt was the appropriate one at the time. Are we willing today to say, okay, I'm willing to abandon my position because your plan is acceptable?
I think-
And that may be the case.
I think that's fair.
I'm not sticking with what I have. I'm just concerned about this.
I think that's fair. And I got more comfortable with what, because I heard the discussion and I understand what they're doing a little more. And I told them that, from my point of view, I wish they would have done that in the first place. But I said, I'll come back here. It's you two guys, the board has to act. We sent them a letter. So I think they would be more than happy to have another meeting or to meet committees together or whatever you want to do.
Well, I would assume that the chairman of their board would respond to our letter. I mean, they just met
They
yesterday
discussed
afternoon
it.
at 3 o'clock, is that correct?
Yeah, and I
You
don't
kept
think
saying last night, it wasn't.
No, it was last night. It was, well, it was. I was there until 7 o'clock.
But started at 3?
Started at 3 and
Okay.
it went
all right.
forever.
So it was an afternoon meeting. I'm not
Yeah,
discussing
you're
it
right.
late, but I thought-
Technically, you're right. It was an
I thought,
afternoon meeting. But anyway, and Tobin hadn't even read the letter in the paper, I don't believe. He,
What letter in the paper?
ours. Or,
And the two, open
Oh.
envelope and read it. They don't have to
well,
read the paper.
I don't know. All I know is that they understood that we had asked for, and that was brought up by other people, that the commissioners wanted to collaborate with them. And they agreed. He said, "Oh, okay."
Well, he knew
that's-
that. That
He
was
knew.
the
Well, I know he got a
content of the
letter, but he didn't respond to the Board of Commissioners. He just saw I was there.
There is where I am right now.
Yeah.
They are going their route, ignoring what we sent to them. They have their plan, and my question is...
That's right.
Hang on a second. My question is their plan acceptable to us? And if it is, fine, let's let it happen. If it is not acceptable to us, we have a duty to step in the middle of this
I
and do
agree.
something about it.
I agree.
Okay.
I guess my perspective on this, I appreciate the hospital district stepping forward and saying we will continue to provide ambulance service to Wetmore. But they had already said that, correct? They had already said they're going to provide
They
ambulance
didn't say they
coverage
would extend the
on a
district.
first call basis. So this whole extending the district, if that happens, okay, I happen to have the same question. Is that the
Very good.
best, the best way to proceed for the citizens of the county? It may be. I'm not saying it
And I
isn't.
said that in that meeting.
Let them finish.
However, if the hospital district puts an initiative on the ballot, I have an opinion about the results of that, and it's not very positive, then where are we? We're probably right back to where we're at today. If the citizens in eastern portion of Fremont County do not vote to join the hospital district, which they've been very clear to us that they will not support that. What did I say? Oh, God, Custer County, not Fremont, sorry. Then where are we? If the voters turn that down, to me, then we're right back to where
They,
we are
I'll tell you
now.
one more time, they discussed that. They're not joining the hospital district. It's the ambulance service. Now, how they get there is the mechanics of what we have to see how they're going to do it. They're not proposing they join the hospital district.
And I'm with you on that because you made the comment they're going to hire an attorney. I'm assuming they're going to get someone who understands how this works, and they will tell them you cannot extend the
That's
hospital
right,
district.
correct.
Okay, so they have mechanics they're going to have to go through.
Right.
We understand what their plan is. Specifically how they get there is a route that to be determined through their legal advice.
Right.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. What I'm not fine with, what I don't know if I'm fine with, if this plan is successful, are we still delivering the best ambulance service to our constituency? That's what I have the question for the same amount of money. I mean, we had unlimited amount of money, we'd put a fire station on every corner, an ambulance station on every corner, it would be no problem. But you know what I'm trying to say. Because we have, for basically the same amount of money, an opportunity to have better coverage and more skilled personnel in the ambulance. Now, if they're going to do this and match what AMR is putting on the table, and they can do it in a reasonable period of time, I'm feeling just fine about that, just like I am when I talk to economic development to take over a job that we were going to give outside the county. I'm fine with that.
And that was the gist of the meeting's tenor yesterday.
I understand
From
that.
their point of view, they're taking steps to provide better service to match AMR. That's how it came across. Now, whether they do or not is got to be determined. And that doesn't mean that we stop wanting them to improve or helping them do things to improve at all, in my view.
Yeah.
But I agree with your request. I think they ought to tell us so that we can debate it if we want to with them.
And I think we need to make our decision
that's what
whether
I think.
that's acceptable or not.
What is acceptable?
Their plan. Whether
Well,
if
we
they-
don't know their plan in detail because they don't know it yet.
You just gave it to us.
Other than those steps.
They're going
That's
to
correct.
cover the people in the eastern portion of the county. They're going to figure out how to get paid by those people for the ambulance service.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to help their employees become higher certified,
Right.
better skilled people.
Right.
That's the plan I heard. Did
That's
I miss
correct.
anything?
No.
Okay. So the question is to us, is that plan, assuming they can pull it off, is that acceptable to us? I complimented them for that. For what you said, I complimented them earlier.
I agree.
So I don't have a problem here, except I want to make sure, I don't want to go, well, they got a plan, let's move on.
See, that's my point. Let me make it again with you. I agree with you, but how are we going to know it's an acceptable plan to us? What are you going to base it against?
We
What's the
have to
next
be
step we
part of
want to
it.
do? Right. So what do we do?
We have to be part of it. We're not just let them go do their thing. That's what I feel.
I didn't say that.
I know you didn't, and I'm not putting words in your mouth. I just don't want, I personally am not willing to go, oh, they got a plan, let's move on.
Okay.
And that's what it kind of sounded like.
Do you have a copy of the letter we just mailed in that you had drafted? I'm looking for mine.
Pull it up in the trib.
May I comment while you're looking?
Pardon me?
May I comment while you're
You may.
When your letter that you sent to them, you said you wanted a professional, them to work with you to find a professional service comparable to AMR.
Correct. That is correct, Steve.
And what they have given you is not that.
That's right.
Which is why I was looking for the letter, because
That's correct.
Do we have a copy
I don't
of
have
that
a copy.
trip here? It's in the
No.
trip.
Maybe Elliot's got it handy.
Do you have a copy of the
I don't
letter?
have a copy of your letter
What letter
that
you're
you sent
looking
to the Tribune.
The letter that we sent to Mr. Tobin,
Yes,
Published in the Tribune yesterday.
it was in the trip yesterday.
In the
It was
editorial.
accurate. It was appropriate. Don't go with the one that you're going to find on there because we wordsmithed it and we
right,
gave it
and
to
I
you.
thought I saved a copy of the
I never
last
got a
one.
copy of what we sent.
Okay, well, Ms.
I'm
Claire
making-
is about to send all three of us one.
No.
Maybe even the county attorney.
And as a point of clarification, the Board of County Commissioners did not put that letter in the newspaper.
We
That is
did.
correct. We had nothing to do with that. They had a copy of it. In fact, the night, let's see, what night was it that Westcliff had its open house? Jordan asked me if he didn't even know there was a letter, and I said, yeah, there was a letter sent. And then it showed up in the paper, so he got it.
How did it get in the paper?
Oh, it's in the paper.
I didn't put it in.
I mean,
Mr.
My
Hedberg
paper asked
requested a
for
copy of it
a
from
copy of
Kara.
it.
yeah, and I don't have a problem. He's got that right to do that. We don't do things behind anybody's back. We're not Congress. All right, I take that back.
You're right.
Do you want one, Kelly?
Yeah, I was just looking for the electronic
Yeah.
version of that.
This is the one we
Email it to
signed.
us also, please. Would you email it also?
Absolutely.
Thank you, ma'am.
you're welcome.
What's the date do you have on your documentation for the electronic version?
We did it on the 15th. I don't know. what-
15.
Well, if this was sent on the 15th, then Bob Tobin's letter to the editor last week was after he got there.
Correct. He definitely received it because he,
Did he answer that?
he,
Okay. Only thing he said in that meeting was just flat out against AMR.
Of course they are.
well, I think this was an attempt to sideline our request that, as Jackie just
Should we
mentioned,
get together?
that we pursue either hiring AMR or a comparable ambulance.
Right.
I still kind of look at this as an interim solution that they're offering until they get to the ballot box. Now, maybe I'm missing something, but
Bandwidth, okay.
I didn't hear it that way. I heard it as this is our long-term solution where we are going to be the ambulance service
Yeah,
for the
that's exactly
future.
right.
And we're going to do a better job because we'll have better people on the ambulance. That's what I heard. That will cover the whole. I mean, look, we already know how they felt the very first time when they sent us a letter saying, I'm sorry, there's a portion of your county we're not going to send
Here's the
ambulances
letter
to."
I got it.
That was not acceptable.
On the 15th. Kara sent it.
Thank you, Karen. Got it.
You want me to send it to you?
no.
can I make a comment here? Well,
Go ahead, sir.
okay, because, I mean, it's obvious, even if their plan goes through without a hitch, they're still gonna be providing ambulance service out of Westcliff to the eastern part. You know, that's what they can't afford. I'm sure they can't afford to have an ambulance over in Wetmore
Right.
all the time. AMR is obviously better equipped to service that part. So there's two tracks here. They don't want AMR. I think this board certainly believes AMR might be more efficient and have better qualifications and training and everything. So if they pursue their track and you pursue your track, you can get yours done faster than what they could do. I mean, if the commissioners decide we would rather provide ambulance service for the entire county through AMR, then you can proceed on that. You could announce that we are not going to recertify the 3% mill levy after this year, and we're going to declare that contract with the hospital district to be breached and void at this point, and proceed down your own path, because you would have to get it on the ballot for a mill levy, a separate mill levy for 3% for the entire county, if that's how you want to do it. I'm just explaining that there are two paths here, and it doesn't look like there's any way that the hospital district is going to accept AMR, so the choice or the decision is whether, and we don't know exactly what they're going to present, but it still won't be an ambulance that's based over in the eastern part of the county.
Well, personally, I think that, Jay, the point you make is good. We do have a letter out there. Let's do it. Is it for the best of the county? Whatever we do, we have to do in a way that is not, you know, I was really upset with the way things evolved. In that first meeting when they said, we don't care what you have in the papers, and we're on it, blah, blah, blah. And I was upset when Lisa said, well, we don't have to go there anyway. We can do what we want. And they brought that up in the meeting. And in fact, Lisa, I wasn't going to bring this up, but Lisa went down and tried to pick the scab a little more in that meeting. I'm over it. You know, I like the goodwill they tried to move forward with. Now, whether Tobin was trying to do something different because he read the letter, he took a hard stand, doesn't want AMR, well, fine. But in the end, it's for what's best for the citizens, and we got to work it together to come up with the best solution. So how do I want to have the next step be that kind of a meeting with whoever to resolve what our open questions are?
I guess my question would be, are they even open to an outside ambulance service? Hang on a second, let me finish, please. If the answer to that is no, I don't even want to sit down with them anymore, okay? If the answer is, we certainly would consider that if it's going to be best for the citizens, come to the table, okay? I think what we ought to do at this point, we ought to set up a workshop with AMR and sit down and discuss with them, if we did go with AMR, how would this work? For example, kind of questions that were asked to me, and I don't know answers to these. We're not going to deed our property and our ambulances and our stuff to them. Maybe lease them during the term of whatever contract, so if the contract ended, we would have equipment if we need it. I don't know. Those are the kind of questions that AMR we could start
Are you
discussing.
suggesting that it's not we, just us and AMR? It would be we, the board, the hospital board, and us together.
If they are willing to discuss this in earnest.
Well, that's
So far, all as I have heard was fingernails on the chalkboard when you
Time out.
used the
You're
word
right.
AMR.
You're right.
Let me finish.
Well,
Go ahead.
you didn't let me finish.
Go ahead.
I'm working your issue is in order to get that, to me, the letter itself said collaborate, cooperate together. I want to collaborate, cooperate together, and that's the overture we take the high road on with them. I don't want to say we're going to do it regardless whether you want to come or not. That's not the way we get it done.
Their response was to this, let's collaborate and work together, was go away, county commissioners, here's how we're going to do it. That is the way I heard this. And
That's the way it came across in their meeting, but they haven't responded back to us formally. other than, unless they're gonna go with public record on their side and then let us,
Sounds to me like they're pretty clear on it, that AMR or any outside ambulance, I'm calling AMR like I call Wetmore, the entire Eastern District. I'll say AMR.
and perhaps
I'm
that's what
talking
they
any outside ambulance service who can do a better job. I have a real problem.
Okay, I agree. And they probably looked at the fact that when I was there, and it looks like they took those first two steps, which was provide that, extend your boundary, and the other one was upgrade your service. And they thought perhaps that was going to be the olive branch.
And that was without the commissioners involved. This is what we've decided we're going to do.
That's correct.
And we said, let's sit down at the table, all of us, and work out a solution.
Right.
That they didn't do.
Okay.
By design, in my opinion.
Right.
So, the item on the agenda that we're actually considering is approving their ambulance.
Yeah, we get into this.
Well, this has been festering since you made your comments this morning, and I appreciate comments, and I appreciate their effort. I truly do. The question to me is it the right thing to do? That is the only question I have. And if it is, I'm fine.
Mr. Prince, may I ask a question? Without meeting with them, how do you propose to determine whether or not that's the best solution? Because you said a little bit earlier, when Mr. Kanda suggested, well, let's get together and meet them. I mean, you said, well, I don't want to meet with them. So I guess I'm wondering.
Did I say I don't want to meet?
Yeah, you did. You said, I don't want to have a meeting.
I believe he said that if they're not willing to even consider AMR, he was not willing to meet with them. That was our request.
Please don't put in the paper that I'm not willing to meet with anybody about
That's
anything.
why I'm asking
Because
a
I am willing
clarifying
to sit
question.
down with anybody at any time to work out what's going to be best for this county. However, if AMR or any outside ambulance service is off their table, that is an absolute no, I'm not going to waste my time.
Okay. So, I guess I'm sort of wondering what the actual step forward is then. If they're going to develop their ambulance service proposal, are you saying the commissioners are going to go ahead and meet with AMR regardless?
I don't think that was ever said.
Okay, I'm asking for
I think where
clarification.
it goes right now is let's see if we even get a response other than what we heard today from this particular letter, and we'll determine where we go from there based upon that response, if we get one. If we don't get a response, then we will make the assumption that we know what the response is. And I think that's appropriate, don't you guys?
Yeah, I would probably send the chairman an email this afternoon and ask him when can we expect to hear a response from the letter that we mailed you on January 15th. Here it is, 31st. We haven't heard a word.
But
I think they ought to.
in deference to them, they only met last night. So he may
True.
not have been in a position to write.
Right.
You know, he needed to get board approval on what to write, and I'm fine with that.
Well, that's a good question, because they didn't discuss any response. So he's going to have another board meeting to get the board to say, well, let's
Well, and
respond.
that's why you
Well,
sent it on the 15th.
Not necessarily. I mean,
We can do it by a
he could
special meeting.
report back in an email what they decided.
Right.
That's a response. I don't know that he'd have to have board approval to send a response, but do you feel, Commissioner Kanda, that they were expecting you to be the response back to us? Did they say, will you tell the
Yes,
commissioners
I
what
think
we did?
they were glad to see a commissioner there. And I know that they were glad that I would be able to tell them what had happened, so that I do believe that. I don't know that they looked at it as an official response. I don't think they should have, because I made it clear to them it's just me, and the board hasn't, I'm not talking for the board. And I saw what they did. I told them they made those two major steps that impressed me. I told them that was a good move to extend the district and to upgrade their service. That's fine. But I didn't say that was the solution, and that satisfied this board.
They cannot extend the district, correct? The voters have to approve that.
that has to be the petition
They have
for
to
the
get-
ambulance service.
Yeah, they have to, ultimately, yes, it has to.
They
go-
voted to go down the steps to do that. That's all they voted to do.
To expend, is that to extend the entire hospital district?
No, just the ambulance service out of the,
They
to cover
don't-
the whole county, period. It was not moving the district of the hospital where the hospital district, you know,
Well, if they're, then that's not extending any district, it's not doing anything. If it's not a separate special district, they're just, I mean, it's what
they're
we've already
voting
got.
to
They're providing
extend their emergency services to cover the county, period. And according to SDA's option C, they're allowed to petition to do that and move outside their district boundaries for the hospital and extend the service boundaries for the ambulance. That's the way they present it.
Well, but there's not any ambulance district to extend. I mean,
There's an
that's a separate.
ambulance service in
Well,
there.
and they can do that like we've already done by
Right,
contract.
right.
We're already
with us.
doing that.
Yes. So
So
it's
they're-
not doing anything more than what they've got.
Well-
They're just saying they'll do it better.
All I'm telling you is what they said, and that SDA process involved going to the district court to get authority to include the mill levy outside the current
Then they're,
hospital emergency services area, not the the
Well,
hospital
that's the
district.
same as the district.
I know it is, but see, when you start saying hospital district, that the voters are going to think they're voting to be in the hospital district when they don't want to be part of the hospital. They want to be part of the ambulance service. And that's what
I
they're
don't, I mean,
separating.
it's not part of their service plan for the hospital district.
That's right.
That they would provide separate ambulance
Right.
service outside the
That's
district.
why they have to go through the process to petition and fix whatever they have structure-wise, authority-wise. So I don't know any more than that.
But apparently it would still somehow be connected with the hospital district. I don't understand. what-
Sure,
Legally, how they're trying to do this.
Administratively, they still are accountable for that ambulance and the personnel and the service itself.
They obviously need legal advice
That's
on
right.
how to handle what they're trying to
That's
do
right.
ethically and appropriately. And I'm fine that they don't know that. And they said they're going to hire an attorney to help them do that. I'm taking their word on that they're going to do all that.
So, gentlemen, you have documentation from the
Yes, we do.
ambulance inspections. And I've had people say, hey, you as commissioners have nothing to do with the ambulance service. Well, that is absolutely not true. Here we are getting ready to sign off on the inspections of those ambulances. We certainly certified the mill levy that deals with the ambulances.
Right, that's our responsibility.
Okay. So do we need a motion to
We do.
approve the inspection of the ambulance?
I move we accept, what are we accepting? The certification of the ambulance service, I guess it is, the ambulances.
Is there a separate certification form you sign? Okay.
It's got the certificate.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to certify the inspections of ambulances Med 2, Med 3, and Med 4. Discussion.
Question, do they do their own inspection or does a third-party
No.
inspector?
Yeah, I asked that today. Haven't gotten an answer back yet. There's 2 signatures on these inspection forms.
I think it's outside, one of them is. I don't know.
Historically, it's been an outside firm.
Brandon Chambers and
Yeah.
Beth signed these.
Chambers.
Another name also, ambulance inspector.
But interestingly enough, there's no documentation here of the name of the company.
That Brandon Chambers works for.
I think he owns it.
So I just, that's what spurred me to reach out and ask. If someone were to ask me the name of our ambulance inspection company, I couldn't tell them. Doesn't mean that I haven't had that information somewhere along the way, but
All we got's his signature.
did you second the motion, sir?
I did. So we could ask these questions.
Further discussion? It seemed like we contracted with a company to do this. But I couldn't tell you when we did that. Certainly can't tell you the name of the company we did with.
I think Beth talked about that last year. She actually came over when,
Right. So that wouldn't have been a resolution, it would have just been a motion to approve hiring that company to inspect the ambulances, I'm guessing.
I don't remember if you guys did that or it was just a company that they've always used.
I thought we took action on it. I'm looking here and
Southern Colorado Rural Emergency Medical Services, Inc., Brandon W. Chambers. I just saw that, happened to see that.
just happened to stumble across
Those are
that.
Well,
certified
I mean, I don't know
inspector.
if that's the information you need, but
That's what I was looking for, I believe. I was just looking back in January of 19 to see if we took action on that, but I don't see it.
I'd have to look back through the minutes and
Yeah, that's what I was-
see.
Where I was headed to, but it's weird. I would have assumed it would have been early in the year, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would think they would do it at the same time every
I'm
year.
looking at January 23rd. Not there. And if you gentlemen are all right, we can move forward. There was a question I had.
All I cared about was that a third party.
Sounds like it is
inspection.
certified.
It sounds like it was. Jackie found who this gentleman works for. That's all I cared about. I just don't want to self-inspect it.
Let's vote.
Further discussion? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of approving the ambulance inspection, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose nay. Motion carries.
I just sent you guys a copy of their upgrade plan. Lisa Drew just sent me what they talked about yesterday. You got a copy of
We're
it?
talking about the clinic.
Yeah.
So, just to finish that, do we need to sit down and look at that plan and decide if it's acceptable to us or not, or are we just going to let it happen?
I don't know, that we need to finish that. All this describes is the upgrades they're planning on doing to get to the 2 paramedics now, 2 total drivers now, 9 basics now, etc. What they're planning on doing with their schools and stuff.
These documents that I'm signing based on the motion we just passed are for ambulance service license. There's no mention on these documents about Med 2, 3, or 4.
Are there 3 separate documents?
No, there's 2.
Say the same thing.
I thought those were certifying that we approved the inspections of the ambulance. Now, this may be a result of that, but this should have been on the agenda, is to approve the licensing of.
I think approving inspections.
I did too.
That's what I thought.
She just said what the current personnel they have is. This isn't a plan, what she said.
I don't know.
It's hard to say. That ties into what you're doing there. And that says EMS 1.
Right.
Both of them say EMS 1.
You're right, that's what she said.
That was my question to Beth, but I've been trying to get a hold of her all morning, and because I wasn't sure, because I thought I
What
saw
we
the
done?
same
What did we
thing.
do last year?
The Med 2, Med 3, Med 4.
I don't move we rescind the action of approve. Well, no. I'm sorry, let me back up. I think we approved the ambulance inspections as they were presented.
That's what we
I think
approved.
we're
was this-
legal there.
That's what we did.
I have a question about signing.
What is
these.
that about?
So, this is an ambulance service license. If this is the result of the inspections, okay, I would have assumed there were 3, 1 for each ambulance.
Right.
So,
Ambulance service, though the service will include them, right?
I'm probably gonna ask Miss Kara to continue to reach out
Okay.
to Miss Archuleta and, number 1, get clarification of this. If you guys are okay, I'll hold on to these.
Sure.
If in fact this appears to be the identical document, so it's just 2 copies of the ambulance service license, which means we're licensing them to serve in this county. I don't know if that's tied to the inspections or not.
Okay.
If that's a different thing, then we probably need to have a conversation about that. So if you would hold on to these, and if it is tied to the ambulances, I would ask why there's not 3 of them, 1 for each ambulance. That's what I thought we were
Yes,
signing.
that was my question to
Yeah.
her. So
You're right, she just sent current stats.
So we did approve the certification of the ambulance inspections.
We didn't vote on it yet, but that's
Well,
what the
sorry,
motion
I mean,
is.
that's where we're headed.
Okay, I
So
found
it's,
it.
okay.
So last year, February 5th,
Oh, I was off. Okay.
ambulance service inspections, they're inspected annually. Inspections have been approved by the board. Motion by Commissioner Flower to approve the ambulance inspections on meds 2, 3, and 4. So just,
That was
We
it,
just did.
which is what we just did. But I think this ambulance license document is
something
different.
separate.
Yeah.
Did you sign one last year?
It doesn't have that, and I don't remember you
No,
guys
I
doing
don't remember
that
seeing
last
those
year.
certificates.
I think we just approved those. I was on January 31 when I quit looking. You said February 5th
4th.
of 19?
No, 5th, yeah.
Yeah. And there was nothing following that. Sheriff Biley, are you leaving permanently?
I was going to.
He was trying to.
Okay.
Do you want me to stay?
I would like you to stay for a question during public comment if you don't
I can
mind.
certainly do that.
Thank you. Yeah, there was nothing subsequent to that of signing any kind of a license, so it was strictly just ambulance inspections. thought maybe we did something later on in the meeting, but I couldn't find it.
And I don't remember.
I don't remember seeing it.
So let's get caught up with our February 4th agenda. Did you want something on that agenda pertaining to
Yes. That would be,
the CDOT agreements?
yes. Well, I want to get the rough draft of what we're going to work
I'll have it Tuesday.
with the towns together.
Okay, so consideration of a letter to Carmel
No,
or
this
to
is,
CDOT?
this is to work
Oh, this is
with
to get the agreement. All right,
agreement
so
between the
it'd be-
towns that we're going to have a single point of contact. That's
All
our
right,
plan.
so consideration of an agreement with Silver Cliff and West Cliff,
For the fiber optic program.
single on a point of contact
Point
for
of contact.
broadband.
Right.
You'll both have it, all you'll have
Yeah.
this evening.
And then anything else needs to go on that agenda on the 4th?
No, but on the 5th, we ought to, I'll see what they send back. They want us to respond to CDOT, and if we get an agreement before the 5th, we can sure do that.
So you were then trying to get this letter signed the afternoon of the 4th and then come back?
Yes, our letter, and then we'll come back the next day with the letter they want to send to CDOT to help expedite getting the grant process.
That's the agenda.
We don't want to wait 2 more weeks.
And then on the 5th of February, consideration of signing a letter to CDOT.
That's correct.
And it would be helpful then if we had that letter in front of us.
That's what I'll get that. I'll get to rewrite the letter and we'll go through it. We can pick it apart, help write it.
Okay. Anything else, gentlemen, items of business before we move on? Public comment? Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask one question about the Bill Canada possibly being the single spokesman for the county with the broadband thing. Did you guys actually make a decision on that?
No.
No.
Okay.
Other public comment? Morning, Sheriff.
Good morning, gentlemen.
How are you?
Ladies.
We had a discussion this morning during the meeting about the unpaid balance to Nora Gas.
Yes, sir. You want me to come up there?
I do. We actually paid that
Okay.
because it's on our account.
Should have been.
No, that's right. None of us felt like it was our responsibility, but it was on our books. So we included that in our motion to pay the vouchers.
And I was going to come and talk to you about that, but you're
Okay.
here.
And so obviously that puts us in a little bit of a weak position because now we've already paid the bill.
Oh, you don't have a position now.
So,
The county's gonna have to eat that.
yeah. So maybe
Maybe,
not.
maybe not.
Okay.
We certainly intend to go to NORUP and say to them, it's our understanding that there was a request for a locate and you gave them the go-ahead to dig that.
There were two.
Twice.
requests.
And so we feel like we did what we felt like was fair and equitable, and that's pay you what we owe you. But I think we're prepared to ask them to refund that money because they gave the go-ahead to the fence contractor to dig anyway.
That's
Twice.
correct.
See, they acted in the
And
county.
Sergeant
as the
Halpin
county.
was, completely involved in that as well, because it was delayed. The fence contractor was ready to dig the holes to put the fence in, and then he didn't get it done that day. And we asked, and he said, "I'm still waiting on NORUP to come do this." And so another call was made, and I don't know if it was Sergeant Halpin that made that call or if it was Henry from the fence company, but regardless, the call was made again, and they said, "We're not going to come out there, just dig it. If you hit something, we'll just come out and fix it."
So that to us means they took the liability.
Well, they didn't care if it got hit. So, I mean,
That's right.
and of course,
Bam.
boom.
Yeah.
And so, and then they had to come out a second time because they fixed it the first time, and we were getting ready to cover it in, and it was like, well, somebody,
Yes.
yeah, and it's because the junction that they had put on there was leaking. So they had to come out a second time. So I never looked at the invoice because, first off, we contracted with the fence contractor to take care of it. So that should have never come to the sheriff's office to begin with. That was part of the deal. In the agreement, he was supposed to get the locates, and he said he would take care of all that. And so, in good faith, he did. And and that's why I directed Paula from the get. We are not getting involved in this. This has nothing to do with the sheriff's office or the county. This is between them and the fencing contractor. If they can take the fencing contractor to court if that's what they feel they need to, but I think they were in a very weak position because they told him, dig it, and if you hit it, we'll just come fix it.
Right. So,
Begs the question, why didn't they deal with the fence contractor when they...
Every time they called us, and Paula, in fact, I had an email while I was that they had called again, and Paula gave him his information again and said, "Look, you have to call and talk to him. This is not us."
But it's easier to send a bill to you.
Sure.
Right,
Well,
it should have been
sure.
sent to
Sure.
them, and it should
Right.
have been between
So-
them who paid it.
I didn't want to, I didn't think we should get in the middle of it because it wasn't on the counter. Never should have been.
right. And with all respect, easy for you to say because you weren't getting the bills. We were getting the bills.
Well, they were being sent over to my office.
So they were.
Right.
So I still believe we did what was right. I hope North Gas will do what is right. Certainly, Commissioner Candace volunteered to follow up on this.
Okay.
I know the owner of Nora.
Yeah.
I bet you when it gets to his desk, he'll say this is ridiculous. You give them their money back. But,
And then if he wants, he can go talk between the fence guy and he need to work it out.
Yeah.
Fence guy shouldn't have taken it either. He shouldn't have dug it just because she said dig it.
well,
Without
but
the
they're
road.
trying to get the job done. They
I
were
know.
under a
I
contract
know.
with the sheriff's department.
Yeah, it was a bad situation altogether. We were befuddled when they were like, "No, just dig it." And so I was like, "Hey, look, when they start digging, we got to be ready to turn the propane off here because
Right.
we knew roughly where it was, but it had been years since that line had been dug, and so we weren't entirely sure.
Yeah.
No one was around except for Sergeant Halpin that had a rough idea, so he was out there, and sure enough, because Murphy always strikes.
Right. Well, hopefully Commissioner Canada can follow up and we'll try to get some resolution to it. But I just wanted you to share with these gentlemen what you had shared with.
Yeah, that's the only reason that I hadn't paid it from the onset in my office because again that was part of the contract that we signed with the fencing company, and Nora knew that because the fencing company is the one that called them for the locate.
Right. Yeah, from where I sit, the propane company took on the liability when they told him to go ahead and dig. That should have been the end of discussion, but.
That was my perspective on it as well.
Yeah, okay. All right, sir, thank you, I appreciate that. Everything good down
That
south?
was easy.
Yeah,
All
well,
I mean, it's
prisoners
easy as
accounted
could be.
for today?
Yeah. Congratulations
Thanks
on
for that comment.
apprehending
Yeah, I
all the
appreciate
old
that.
hombres.
there
Yes.
is a caveat to that whole propane thing is, I guess the county could go to the sheriff's department and ask for reimbursement because,
You could do that.
thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate your willingness.
If you want to
consider
send me
that.
the email directly,
Yeah.
see,
Oh, then
it gets
you can
it gets to my trash file quicker.
Okay. Instead of going through hoops.
Paula, and
Yeah.
then she has to delete it. She forwards it to me. I delete it.
How are things in the southern hemisphere? Did you get that far?
Not really.
Not really. Still in the northern hemisphere, I
Yeah,
think. But
sure.
good.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Thanks. It was
All right,
good.
sir. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you,
And
Sharon.
yes, all of our prisoners are accounted for, Mr. Smith. I appreciate that concern.
And what have I understood?
I actually,
You shuffled them off the Buffalo already, didn't you?
yes. And I'm on the agenda for the 4th to talk about some security
Okay.
measures that I'm gonna need some capital expense money from you gentlemen.
Shouldn't be a problem you bringing the
Imagine.
request.
I imagine that it won't be.
Shouldn't be a problem you getting on the agenda from there on. Who knows? Yeah, we'll see how the gas bill thing goes.
Yeah, you want to lock, you want to fix the lock, you gotta fix the gas.
Other public comments? Hearing none, chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn. Adjourn.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.